I know. You know what's funny is every time I start one of these like somewhat on time, everyone's shocked. Here, you know when you hear the most horrifying aspect of all this, Rain Bam? I didn't have any caffeine this morning, and I feel exhausted. So
I just had decaf left today, and I was like, "Oh, damn it!"
Oh yeah. It's I am exhausted.
Evil.
I should have gotten that too, but I should have. It's all unironically, it is kind of his fault. Although I don't remember it happening, so it is all his fault. So yes,
okay.
I crashed yesterday, and then he was getting like phone calls at like 1 a.m, and I was just like, no. Apparently, I half asleep was having a conversation with him.
Oh.
And I don't remember any of that. So yes, it's all his fault. It's all Loki's fault. It is entirely his fault. Where is the no? The footage is actually so you know when
Thor Ragnarok, right?
Yeah, Thor Ragnarok. There was a version of the scene where they're on like the cliff in Scandinavia, where it was actually in a back alley. And instead of having a green portal that she comes through, it's a yellow one. And so when Loki was making me this intro years ago now, he chose that one because I absolutely adore Hela. And I'm very sad that she never came back, but I'm also very happy that she never came back. Because there is no planet in which I think that she would have got. I mean, her dying to an epic, quote unquote, dying. She's the goddess of death, so it's like if Hades died. You know what I mean? Like he'd just be sent back to where he was. You know, it's like, well, I guess technically nothing would happen. You know, because they'd just be sent to where they rule, so it doesn't really matter. Yeah.
Yes.
So I don't know. Dying via giant fire monster is. I mean, there are worse ways to go. You know. Yeah. There you go. Yeah, that was like the original cut, and then they like redid it or something. I couldn't remember. This was like a different version of the. It wasn't. It's not an official version of it, but there's like footage of it. If that makes sense. Thank you. I decided just for the 3-year anniversary to bring it back, and then I've kept it because I really liked it.
No school like the old school.
Yeah. Woo! But yeah, so this video I have been sitting on for like 2 years. It's a doozy. I was trying to figure out something to cover last night, and I actually ended up listening to an entire video, and I was kind of bummed out because it was about Big Trouble in Little China, and I was trying to figure out whether there was enough in there for us to cover, you know. And I was just, there really wasn't.
Okay.
Because I didn't exactly disagree with a lot of the ways. It's just how a lot of the like Big Trouble in Little China. Wow, my brain just totally. Kurt Russell's character, Jack Burtman. There we go. He's a giant buffoon, and it's like a parody of the white savior, blah blah blah, and the problem of the Chinese mysticism. Which honestly, I think, as far as mythos go, the Chinese mythos are incredibly underutilized. But I mean, just saying, And I watched it and I was just like, I mean, he is a big goober in there. I agree. Yeah, Jack's a big goober. That's kind of the point. He lives in a world where he thinks he's the most competent character, and he's like the least competent one by a wide margin. And it's a part of the reason it's hilarious. He has this confidence that he should not have at all, and it's great. It's one of my favorite movies. So there just wasn't enough. And so I was like, you know what? Maybe it's time to do this. Yeah, this is a perfect time to do it. Nobody's talking about James Bond. It is not in any way, shape, or form a hot topic. Let's cover it now. So, yeah, that's what we're doing. We're gonna do this. Is James Bond problematic? I will say there are some cringe scenes in James Bond, and there is one James Bond movie that I cannot get through. And maybe one day we will have a watch party, and I will be forced to sit through it because it was so bad I had to leave, and I had to turn it off. We got that 50th anniversary thing from Walmart, the box set. It was on sale, and so we at one point, like last year, we sat and started watching every single one of the James Bond movies kind of in order. We got to, what was it called, Loki? Her Majesty's Secret something like that.
Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Yes. That's the one, right? That's the one I couldn't sit through. I had to turn off. I'm pretty sure. Her Majesty's Secret. Yeah, I'm fairly certain that's the one. Is that the one where the dude came on? That was the only time he was James Bond, and then just bounced afterwards. Lazenby, I'm pretty sure.
Lazenby, right?
Yeah, Lazenby. Yeah. Okay, yes, so that was him. Laserbeak. There we go.
That guy, George Lazenby, had a gold of a contract offered to him, and he only made the one movie. He didn't sign a long-term contract. They offered him like a 6-picture deal.
Oh, thank goodness. Oh no, you gotta just, I don't know, the whole movie. I can't even say the whole movie, can I? Because I haven't seen the whole movie. The portion of the movie I watched was not even remotely James Bond. I don't know. It's like somebody got the title switched with a different movie, and you're trying to tell me this is James Bond, but I don't see James Bond. He's a true fucking hippie. I don't remember what made me turn it off. I don't remember what it was. I blacked out most of the movie. I just remember I hated it and I didn't finish watching it. And that takes a lot. It takes a lot for me to not finish watching a movie. Okay. I have quite the tolerance level for shitty films. So, if I can't sit through a movie, it's either something really special or just it should be buried and never recovered. So, the horse riding scene with his wife, that was when I turned it off. Okay. I don't remember that. I remember he was with a chick, but I didn't remember that it was his wife. Marrying James Bond is a bad idea.
That was Diana Rigg, wasn't it?
Diana who?
I think that was
Diana Rigg. Yes, I'm seeing the name Diana Rigg. I pulled up the plot. I'm just okay.
You know who she played on Game of Thrones, right?
Hold on, I'm clicking. Is that my girl? Is that Grandma Rose? Is that Grandma Thorne?
It is.
Oh, hell yes. Why did you? Oh, no.
Because it's called a paycheck.
Fair enough. Known for The Avengers?
Yes. That was a British spy action show that she was on.
Fascinating. Okay. All right. I went down a slight rabbit hole there.
I'd rather talk about Diana Rigg than what we're about to cover.
Hey, you know what? I don't necessarily disagree with you. The horse riding scene with his wife. That, it's really bad when I can't remember it. I cannot remember that scene. Except for I remember he was with a woman, and for some reason I turned it off. That was it. I don't really remember a whole lot before.
I know I've seen the movie, but it's a total blank. I just remember him on the horseback on the beach. That's all I remember.
I think I remember Thor: The Dark World more than I remember that movie. and if you try to sit down and actually like figure out what's going on in Thor: The Dark World, like remember we did that one time, it is difficult.
Yeah, it is.
I enjoy the movie. It is just if you try to actually just sit down and break up the plot, it is very hard. Um, it's like, oh, evil elf man come and try to destroy Asgard.
Still distracted by the Ninth Doctor trying to sneak past the guy who can see everything, and he somehow misses them. It's like, what?
Yeah, having Heimdall be able to see everything, which is technically accurate, also creates a lot of problems because you have to take him out. But in order for you to take him out, he can't see you coming, and that's. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of. So it's like you can't really. The problem with a lot of problem with the Thor movies is Heimdall has to be incapacitated or he can't be there. Those are your two options. You can't really have him around, and so an invasion of Asgard is very, very difficult. So anyway, it's kind of the point. That's he's good at his job in that way. All right, I think we've been yeah, both sleep deprived, both tired. Neither one of us have had caffeine. It's time to watch Renegade Cut. A favorite on our channel. So excited. Aren't you excited? James Bond Examined. I will say that I am genuinely shocked when you go back and watch some of the James Bond movies about some of the names the women that they were able to get away with in the 1960s. I am absolutely shocked. I don't think you could get away with that. Like, obviously, you couldn't get away with it now, but you know what I mean. Like, language has obviously changed, and the acceptance of cursing and swear words have become a lot more. It's just more widely accepted, and so it's very very strange some of the names they were able to get away with. Chris, don't be mean. Don't be mean. It's mean. Don't be mean. It's rude. Don't be rude. Changed or devolved?
Yes.
I don't actually. Yeah, there we go. Yes, that's the correct answer. Yes. Okay, enough dilly dally. Let's do it. Are you ready? No? It's okay. I'm hitting play anyway.
Okay.
Did you know that James Bond was named after an ornithologist? No, really. Novelist and naval intelligence officer Ian Fleming, shown here like an edgelord Twitter avatar.
I have a question. Is the quality on your end absolute garbage?
Yeah, it is.
What? Hold on a second. Why is it absolute garbage? It's still absolute garbage. Okay, hold on. This is weird. Okay. Okay, so it appears to be playing on 144p for some reason.
Okay.
Why is it playing on 144p? Okay, so I usually have things at a lower rate because I'm usually just listening when I have YouTube on. And so I just keep it at a lower frame rate. That way it's not just draining my battery, you know? Or a lower resolution. And so I don't understand why Watch Together usually auto makes it like the highest quality. So I don't know why it's now at 144p. Why is it at 144p on Watch Together?
That's weird.
That's very strange. I had this all set up, all nice, neat, and organized. This was all like the sizing was perfect, everything was perfect. Oh my gosh. Hold on, Josh. Okay, so I have it at the appropriate one now. This is going to be dumb. Okay, hold on. Technical difficulties. Do you see how it's at a higher quality now? You're still in the room, right?
Yes.
I didn't kick you? Okay. Yeah, okay, that's weird. For whatever reason, Watch Together... Okay.
All right.
Alright, that was weird. I don't understand that.
That was bizarre.
I had to do it at 1080 on so I had to go to the YouTube video, do 1080, and then get that link. So are they now saving like okay, so does the different quality of videos give you a different link now? That's the only explanation I have. There's no reason. Okay, that was weird. That was weird. I don't understand that. That's very bizarre to me.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anyway, I'm gonna hit play.
Did you know that James Bond was named after an ornithologist? No, really. Novelist and naval intelligence officer Ian Fleming, shown here like an edgelord Twitter avatar, named the most.
He was literally a World War II spy. You know that, right?
I don't know. If anyone has the right to be an edgelord, I would think it would be a former spy. That's just me.
He literally worked for British intelligence and helped with the breaking of the Enigma code.
Okay, how do I... Okay, so one of the things that authors, really, really good authors, have reiterated through the ages is write what you know.
Yes.
So he wrote what he knew. He was oh my gosh, is that a dark gray line? It's a dark gray line on the side. No. Okay. All right, everything's fine now. No, now it's on the other side, Josh. Josh.
I weep for you.
Help. No, it's on both sides. Is it better? No, it's worse. No, that's too soon. Damn it. Okay. No, now it's on top.
And on the side.
All right, is it better? Did I do it? No, it's back on the other side. Shit.
Oh my goodness.
I had this all set up, by the way. This was all perfect. And now it's, oh my gosh, it's on the other side now. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna just scoot. You asshole.
Through as she adjusts.
Shut up. This is professional tisms. Okay, we did it. All right, everything's fine. Everything's fine now. I lost almost half our people watching anyway. Okay, so the writers, back to what I was saying before, writers always say, write what you know. So he knew how to be a spy, so he wrote about spy stuff. Stephen King, the people in Stephen King's books have a lot to do with people he knows, that he's had interactions with, that he's like visited and stuff.
And given his Twitter profile, he knows how to write evil assholes because, well, he's kind of an evil asshole.
He's a little strange. Stephen King writes good. Is a really good author, but he's a little bit of a weirdo. It's fine. It's fine. He's a little weird. So I don't know. Also, if you're gonna, your author picture is entirely up to you how you want to display yourself. This picture looks exactly like how I would imagine a dude writing spy novels would look. I don't know. Just...
I don't know if this is true or not, but I remember hearing that Ian Fleming once he basically like made a whole bunch of like mock plans to lure in U-boats into a minefield. Like when they so like when the British realized the Germans had their codes, he transmitted a bunch of fake orders to lure German U-boats into minefields.
That sounds like it would work. 10 out of 10. That definitely would work. 100%. Oh yeah, I could see that. Okay, that's funny. That is funny. Okay, that's funny, right now. I like that.
That's true.
It is true. He also worked on Operation Mincemeat, a project given Syria. Yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah. That. All right. Shall we continue? Tism. Continue the tism.
I guess.
Secret agent after a scientist in a book that he just happened to keep handy. Fleming once said of Bond, "I wanted the simplest, dullest, plainest sounding name I could find. James Bond was much better than something more interesting like Peregrine Carruthers. Exotic things would happen to and around him, but he would be a neutral figure, an anonymous, blunt instrument wielded by a government department."
Okay,
yeah.
So yes,
Okay.
Okay, so I want to go and bring that quote back up. All right, so if I'm a spy, I'm not using my real name, and B, I'm using a very common name. Okay, John Smith, Michael Jones, stuff like that. Okay, pretty common names. I don't know what the female equivalent of that is, but just very common names where it would be like most people have. There's other people in the world that have that same name, right? Like throughout the history, at some point, somebody's gonna have your same name. But if you're a spy, you would want to have a name that would make tracing you exceptionally difficult. That's why a name like John Smith, which is very, very popular, would come. Like, there's a lot of those. Michael Jones's are the same. Smith and Jones, I think, are like the two most popular names. So having those names, especially those last names would be that way. James Bond is there's nothing, those are uncommon names, either one of them.
Right.
So Jane Doe. There we go. We got Jane Doe. So I don't have an issue with it.
An anonymous blunt instrument.
Oh, sorry.
But yeah,
go ahead.
but just a name like Peregrine Carruthers, that would draw attention.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain I would remember somebody called Peregrine Carruthers.
Right. And yeah, his whole point about your James Bond is not a very interesting name. Yeah, James Bond himself is not that in depth of a character. We follow the adventure, not necessarily him.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, everyone has their preference of James Bonds because it's kind of like the Doctor, right? You bring the personality. Like, they have like a base of who the character is, and then they bring essence of their own personality in with it. Which I have no issue with.
I mean, there's Sean Connery, and then there's everyone else.
That's kind of mean. Connery is my favorite, though, I would have to say. But I do like Pierce Brosnan, Timothy Dalton. I
think Dalton's run was a little underrated.
Mm-hmm. Yes. The Daniel Craig movies, as far as I'm concerned, have two in them.
They just got progressively worse as they went on.
They wouldn't stop. And you know what the funniest part of all of Daniel Craig's ones are? It's pretty much after every single James Bond movie, he would complain about being James Bond, how much he hated being the character, how he wanted to do something else, and then he would go do something else. It wouldn't make any money, and then he would go back to being James Bond like a year or two later.
Pretty much.
And that's pretty much how it's been for his entire run of James Bond. I don't like being James Bond. Ugh. But I need money.
Yes.
And he's like, yeah. But yeah, Skyfall and Casino Royale are my two favorites. Pretty much the only good ones, in my opinion, of Daniel Craig's run. All the other ones, like Quantum of Solace.
I hated Quantum of Solace.
You can throw that away.
I hated
Spectre.
that one.
I can tolerate Spectre. Not a whole lot, but I can tolerate it. I have not seen No Time to Die. And I have not heard anything that would make me want to see it.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
That's fair.
I like to think, so this is something I always kind of thought would be really funny, is that how we're following along James Bond, and he's like the worst of the spies in MI6, and he's literally like the worst one they have.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, you're Inspector Clouseau, the Pink Panther movies?
Yeah.
He's kind of like a more serious take on Inspector Clouseau, how he just kind of accidentally
That's what I want in my James Bond movie.
I don't know, it's just you're right, as he's much better as an assassin than a spy. I would actually agree with that. Because if he was an assassin, I think he would actually it would be like super, super well done. But a lot of the times he just kind of stumbles his way. Like he goes to the place and then runs into a chick who just somehow is connected to the big bad guy. by sheer coincidence, he just runs into like the one woman that would lead him to the guy that he's trying to get. And it's just funny to me. Just endlessly funny. And I also love Q's just exasperation always with James Bond. He's just like, oh. You know, I'm going to tell you to bring this back in one piece, but if I get it back in 5, I will be shocked. If I get it back at all, I will be surprised. Yes, and I would say Daniel Craig definitely brings more of a Jason Bourne than a James Bond vibe. I think that was actually a critique of him, or criticism of him, because he's more Jason Bourne than he is James Bond.
He is, yeah. I think that's a fair assessment.
Oh no, really? I haven't heard good things. But who's the chick in there that like? Oh, she was in Multiverse of Madness. Is it Lashana? What's her name? Lynch. Lashana Lynch.
Lashana Lynch.
Lashana Lynch. Yeah. Okay. Is she just always like a bitch in every movie she's in? Is that just her character? You know how Jeff Goldblum just plays himself? She just plays a bitch like every time she's on screen.
I think so.
Okay, that's kind of strange. You know, you'd think if you were acting, if you don't have the charisma to play yourself, you'd know how to act like other people. So,
wielded by a government department. It's just a bit of trivia I learned while researching James Bond and watching every canonical film from beginning to end. I am very tired. Of the origins of his personality.
Oh, he did research.
Oh, you did. You watched them all. I'm glad because you're doing an entire show. You're covering all the James Bond movies, so I actually would expect you to do that. I think I've seen pretty much all of them, except her on Her Majesty's Secret Service, which is so okay. I'm Oh my gosh, I saw the title "Live and Let Die" and the song started playing. Oh, Roger Moore. How did I forget about Roger Moore?
Oh, you forgot Roger Moore?
I did. In my list, I said Prince Brosnan, Daniel Craig, Timothy Dalton, and Sean Connery. I forgot Roger Moore. How dare I?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain I've seen all of them except for No Time to Die. I'm fairly certain about that. Makes me actually want to go back and watch the movie again.
Fleming once remarked that Bond was a composite of all the secret agents and commando types he met during his naval service in World War II.
Yeah.
It's perhaps because of this composite and this tabula rasa of a personality that Fleming instilled upon 007 that the character can be seen as a vestigial arm of the United Kingdom. By the creator's own admission, he is less man than tool. If Bond is a blunt instrument to be used by Queen and Country with no discernible personality of his own, then it stands to reason that he is intended to have goals, politics, and values that are
Just this without the context of what's actually happening in the movie is utterly hilarious.
It's true. Of the United Kingdom as well. Not necessarily its people, but its government. If Bond is what he was intended to be, then examining the ways in which he is portrayed as it relates to politics, both social and governmental, is not only acceptable but necessary in understanding what we, the audience, are actually witnessing on screen. So,
oh my
if Bond
God.
is a weapon for the UK, then what is he assaulting? I hope throughout the course of this video essay that I can answer that question and make it clear what Bond has come to represent.
What he's... Okay, what do you think he's come to represent, Josh?
I would say James Bond represents basically the ideal male, right? You know, the whole guys want to be him, girls want to be with him type thing.
Maybe
You know,
exaggerated, because I quite frankly would never want to be with James Bond.
Well, yes.
So,
But I mean, just the whole. He goes on adventures. He is a ladies' man. He's charming. He goes to sophisticated. You know, he's sophisticated. He does things that just appeal to men, and that's part of the escapism with the whole character. What this guy is saying about how we need to understand his politics or whatnot, it's not that complicated. He stops bad guys from doing things. That's all.
yeah, some asshole usually wants to take over the world / destroy it / a combination of the two, and he stops it. Usually, the villains are very, very extra in how they try to do whatever they want to do. So,
You mean you don't have your own giant moon base?
I don't have a base in a volcano. I don't have a base in like carved out in ice. I'm not on the moon. You remember the one where it carved out?
Yeah.
All right, so I love the idea of how much time they spent carving out the base in ice.
Yes.
It's just amazing. Well, what is Bond? Bond is just, he is the exaggerate. He's like the Femme Mystique. He's the male equivalent of that.
Yes.
That's what I see James Bond as. He's this mysterious, charismatic man that will sweep you off your feet and will always leave you wanting more from a female perspective. And from the male perspective, he's the charismatic man that is always like 12 steps ahead, can get any woman he wants, even if they're apparently a lesbian. I will never get over that. That's just endlessly funny to me. Like the concept of people who are bi didn't exist in the 60s. It's just, anyway. And, he gets to go on an adventure. He gets to have these cool gadgets. He gets to apparently drink as much as he wants and doesn't gain any weight at all as a punishment. Lavish meals, lavish places to stay, just the life of luxury and danger and adventure, high octane thriller, adrenaline rushing, can get any girl, and the girls want him, just dude. I don't think ideal man is the correct thing. I think male mystique. The male mystique is the equivalent. And it's, like if he existed,
male power fantasy, I guess.
There we go. Yeah, a male power fantasy is another way to put it. You got your female power fantasies, the male power fantasies. I mean, it's fine. Quite frankly, if he actually existed, I don't think he would be anywhere near as good. Like if he actually existed in reality, he wouldn't be the guy that you see on screen. If that makes sense.
No.
No, and that's like the point. He's not supposed to be somebody you could just pluck out of the. In fact, Ian Fleming had to combine several people in order to create him because
including Christopher Lee.
Yes. To create him, and it's perfectly fine. So. Yeah, there's a couple.
Yeah, That's a thing.
Yeah. You know, they could have fixed the lesbian thing if they wouldn't have called her a lesbian, you know? But they did, and it doesn't work. James Bond just isn't that powerful. Just no. So, anyway. Listen.
Let's begin.
Alright. Oh no.
Of course.
Oh no. The imperialist. Oh dear.
Of course.
Oh no. I'm worried.
Imperialism is the practice of extending the power and reach of a nation through invasion and acquisition of territory through economic influence.
Which China is definitely not doing right now.
A nation's
Absolutely
power is
not.
increased this way through military intervention, occupation, a coup to remove someone unfriendly to the nation's interests, espionage, sabotage, and any other overt use of power to expand the economy and territory. To become
Okay.
not only a nation but an empire, imperialism is not only practice, it is policy. It won't necessarily be written into a nation's constitution as the public standard operating procedure, but it is a policy in the sense that it is frequently employed and justified through
By
national
every nation ever.
Okay, I don't know how to tell you this. Almost every country wants more. Every country is a little bit of a greedy bastard, okay? I hate to be the bearer of bad news. And, like, you have to imagine most countries on this planet are that kid that it says take one out of the Halloween candy bowl that's sitting on your doorstep unattended, and they take, like, most of it. If countries are not monitored, they will not. You have to keep them in check. Like, all countries, for the most part, have to keep each other in check, because if they don't, then everyone becomes that asshole that takes all the candy. So that's why there's, like, international treaties, international laws. There's things that stretch across multiple countries. That's a rule. You know, and countries will do their damnedest to bend it. That they'll go as close to the line as possible. You know, this is kind of, but that's how, the reason why countries are like that. That's how human beings are. Okay.
Yeah.
Human beings are very much like that, where it's like, hey, you know what? You told me not to to jump off the cliff, and I'm not going to. But I'm going to stand right on this edge. I'm going to look at you, and, you know, what are you going to do about it? You know, I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you. I'm not jumping off the cliff.
I'm not invading you. I'm not invading you.
Yeah, there's just a lot of people over there, but I'm not invading you. Tell me not to invade. I'm not invading you.
Loki, this guy literally said stealing is okay. We covered a video where he said stealing is okay once.
Yeah. 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 Because it hurts the corporations, and he doesn't understand that when you franchise a store, the person, like, it's part of a bigger corporation, but you're hurting the person that started this store, not really the corporation.
Yes, Rambam. That was the Home Alone video.
Yeah. Yep. So, most countries are not good guys, okay? And most countries have done really shitty things. In fact, I would go ahead and say pretty much every single country that exists on the planet has done a shitty thing or two. At bare minimum. Because that's just how it goes. It's run by flawed humans, and when you have flawed humans in charge of things, are gonna fuck up. That's just how it is. There is no perfect country on this planet, not even our own. As much as, you know, I love America, it's not perfect. And quite frankly, I don't think I want it to ever be 100% perfect. because that would imply that humans aren't running it anymore, and that's kind of a terrifying thought. So, just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not saying imperialism is good. I think it's shitty. I think it's a shitty thing to do, especially now. Like back when there really wasn't borders, I could understand the mindset of imperialism. Still don't support it, but I could understand it a lot more because there weren't like super defined borders on everything. But the borders are so utterly defined right now that trying out imperialism right now is really douchey. It's like, no, you can't just own that land. That country is there. That's a different country, you dumbass. You can't just start moving into somebody's house just because you like it. Idiot. Stop it. It's like, no, I like this house better. I think I'm going to merge it with mine. No, somebody's living there.
Mostly peaceful invasion.
Mostly peaceful invasions. Hey, Poppy, how's it going? Perfect by whose metric? The general, like, the definition of perfection, which is the definition of perfection is without flaws. And when I say without flaws, that means flawed humans cannot, since there are no perfect humans, then human beings could not be in charge of a perfect system. If that makes sense. That's my point. Is that you have flawed individuals running something. So by definition, we could never reach like a utopian perfect system. How dare you? Oh no. Hey, if you want to have some kind of quote unquote monarchy in your own country, that's fine, but I don't have to listen to them. So,
Wait a minute, Palpy. I thought you were your own emperor.
wait, hold on. Yeah, now I'm confused. Did you marry Queen Victoria? Now I'm confused. Now I'm very. I have questions. I have follow-up questions, Poppy.
What would the
yes,
children look like?
Oh god, raised parrots. I understand. There's different definitions of what a utopia is. I'm just saying that anybody who is trying to completely strive for utopia it's not possible. At least not in my opinion, it is possible. It is totally okay to strive for near perfection, right? But to strive for perfection is an impossible task.
That's fair, Poppy. That's fair.
He's retired.
Yeah.
He's retired. Yeah.
We're not even 3 minutes in.
Yeah, my brain is already not absorbing hardly anything that he's talking about, so this should be fun.
Sometimes through concealment of the more subtle actions like espionage and coups. A Western power conquering territory and claiming it as a moral good is an example.
Hold on a second. Why is it just Western territories?
Yeah.
Western powers.
You do know, like, there's plenty of Eastern countries that have empires, right? You do know that, right?
I know he might just be focused on Western. I might have taken this a little bit. So he might just be focusing on Western because British is kind of what we're focused on because it's James Bond. But to be fair, it's like I think for the most part, if you gave the country the opportunity to get more, they would take it. If they thought there wouldn't be any repercussions for it.
Yes.
I don't even think that's a hot take. I think that's just fact. So
example of imperialism and propaganda justifying imperialism. Colonialism is a related policy of controlling this new territory, often from
Okay.
afar, and snatching power from the indigenous people, making them either second-class citizens or removing citizenry outright in favor of enslavement.
Yep, and we fixed that problem over here for the most part. So, yeah, we kicked Britain's ass, kind of. With the help of the French, but we did it. The American Revolution featuring the French in very small print at the bottom. It's like, yeah, well, you know what? How dare you imply what? Is that the dude that he's been showing? I had no idea who that guy was.
Oh, yeah.
So I was just
Yeah, that was Chamberlain.
Okay. It's just like,
Weird, because British imperialism kind of ended around his time.
you ass. Palpy. Being a junk butt. I always do find it funny whenever British people say Happy Treason Day on July 4th. That's always funny to me.
That is funny.
Yeah. All right. Well, I don't really have much more to say about colonialism. I guess we'll move on.
If James Bond is what his creator explicitly said he is, and the movies implicitly show him to be, then he is a figure whose purposes are to protect the practice of imperialism for as long as possible during the...
No, that's not. No.
Uh,
No, he is the government's tool because he works for the government, because he works
Like,
for a government agency.
It's his job.
It's his job to protect the British people, her Majesty, the motherland, whatever you want to call it. It's for queen and country, whatever. The Britishism sayings. That's what he does. Hey, this asshole who built a base inside a volcano for some reason is threatening to blow up the planet for reasons. Go take care of it. And he's like, okay. Also, I wonder if he's gonna mention wow, my brain died. Oh my goodness, the American agent, the CIA, American CIA, James Bond. What is his name? Felix. Yes, I wonder if he's gonna mention Felix.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I get. Oh, British. Oh, the British people are up in arms. I'm saying up in knives because you can't have guns. But you understand that Chamberlain had already lived through World War I, and he and other minds were desperate to present another. Well, I have to say, this is just my take on it, and probably because I can look back and see the events laid out pretty clearly because we're so far away from the situation. But it's almost like everyone completely and utterly fucked up with how they treated Germany after World War I, and if they would have treated it differently, we wouldn't have had World War II.
But that wasn't Chamberlain who was responsible for.
No, I said everyone. I said no, not just Britain. I said in general, stupid Germany. I'm not saying Germany shouldn't have been punished. Honestly, Germany kind of started both world wars, to be perfectly frank. And it's just, I don't know. You look back on it now because you can, again, easily see it. But you kind of wonder, was it just because people were mad that Germany got punished so hard? Or like, if they would have known what happened, I mean, presumably they would have changed how they dealt with Germany. Because I don't... Yes, humiliating Germany after World War I gave birth to Hitler, gave birth to a situation where Hitler was someone that the average German person thought was required.
Yes.
And because of that, because they thought that, and they were so desperate that they brought Hitler to power, and then all of World War II happened. And I say that, but I guess I have to make a caveat. Italy was being a complete idiot around that exact same time, just it's pure coincidence. So Italy was being idiotic, deciding to fuck around with communism and socialism, and and they hooked up, and then Japan, at the exact same time all of that was happening, was going through their honor culture phase like a motherfucker. Like, just they were so wrapped up in their pride and their honor that literally every single person in their country would have been thrown out to fight in the war had World War II not ended the way that it did. So it's just, all of those things happening at the exact same time, and you can look back on it now, right? And obviously with the invention of the internet, that we have the ability to see a lot more things happening. They didn't have that ability back then in the 40s or in the 30s. And so they didn't see any of that happening. Plus we were dealing with the Great Depression, and all that shit that was happening. It was an absolute shit show. All of these things happening at the exact same time led to World War II. And it is easier to say, well, Germany kind of threw down the first punch and blame it entirely on that. But it was actually it was a perfect storm of bullshit happening on a world stage that led to World War II. But if people wouldn't have treated Germany the way that they did, and they would have treated it not better per se, but the punishment shouldn't have been as harsh, I think things would have been a little bit different. But in a way, it's almost like it had to play out the way that it did, or else a lot of other horrific, like multiple wars would have been happening. See, World War II is technically multiple wars, but they wouldn't have been allied, if you understand what I'm saying.
Right.
Germany, so Hitler not happening. So let's just imagine Hitler didn't happen. World War II wouldn't be World War II. You would have had, I don't think Italy would have gotten involved at all. I think Italy would have just basically collapsed in on itself.
Mussolini was just an opportunist, basically.
Yes. And he was like the weakest person in the entire. So Italy was by far the weakest person.
Oh God, yes. Because like almost immediately, Germany needed to start sending troops to aid Italy.
Yes. I think America and Japan still would have gone to war. I'm not sure how, but I think Japan and America would have ended up having to go to war at some point. I'm not sure exactly how, but
Shay brings up a good point.
But Mr. Miyagi is amazing.
Worth it.
Worth it. Worth it. Mr. Miyagi's amazing. He's worth it. Some would say Italy. It's funny is whenever people talk about Axis powers, everyone's like Germany, Japan, Italy. Technically,
yeah.
Italy. I mean, in the most loose sense, Italy got involved, but he really didn't. I mean, it was just Mussolini was just like the small younger brother that was just going along with it. And the second he realized that, we're actually here to rob like up somebody's house. Okay, I'm leaving. Bye. I'm just gone. Toodaloo.
No, I disagree with that assessment. It was more like, oh yeah, we're gonna teach these people, we're gonna take over everything, and then realized that his shoes were tied together and he just falls flat on his face and like accidentally sets off the alarm, and he's a complete liability.
He's like, okay, so let's combine our two. So it's like the younger brother, but he's like the most vocal about being ready for it. You know, he's the rookie, the green one of the group. He's like, yeah, let's do it, let's do it. Oh my god, he's Hudson in Aliens. Yeah, I'm like a badass, man. I'm gonna kill all these things and game over, man. Game over. Like, there you go. That's he's Hudson. Italy was Hudson in Aliens. Except Hudson was more competent.
Oh yeah,
Hudson actually like did things. So, like a less competent Hudson from Aliens.
I mean, all Italy really provided was another avenue of to attack Germany from the south. It's really all it did.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I was just thoughts. People say if you don't understand history, then you're doomed to repeat it. I 100% agree with that.
Mm-hmm. That's why what's going on in the world isn't anything close to worrying at all.
Yeah. Well, the problem is that you just learning about history isn't enough. You need to understand how it came to pass, which is why I say if you want to understand how Germany elected Hitler and Hitler, or elected, I guess, quote unquote, Hitler, and Hitler came to power. If you want to understand how Hitler came into power, you need to understand the average German citizen right after World War One, what their mindset was. Because if you don't understand that, you will never understand why Hitler came to power. You just won't.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a take. I don't think anyone's had before. Mussolini is a less competent Hudson from Aliens. Yes. All right. Anyway, that discussion was actually a lot more enjoyable than I think this video is going to be.
It was, yeah.
Moving on.
The waning days of the British Empire and to safeguard capitalism in the face of a looming communist threat. World War II effectively left the UK bankrupt. The British Empire was crumbling under the weight of
The British Empire was also crumbling under the bombs they were getting hit with every single day.
Yeah, that played a huge impact. The whole infrastructure in Europe was devastated. Not just England, but the infrastructure throughout Europe was in tatters after World War II.
Yeah, I mean, America had some shit happen with our economy after World War II, but we also weren't like the stage, right? So the America
after World War II, after World War
during World
II,
War II.
Yeah, after World War II, our economy was thriving.
Yes. I mean, after
we just needed the other countries to beat the shit out of each other, and we were great.
Yes. So it's a lot different. So you're basically talking about the difference from being in the balcony of a play to literally being on the stage. Okay, that's an entirely different experience. So it's you're absolutely getting devastated, completely and utterly destroyed. And it's Europe isn't that big of a place. It's really not, especially if you compare it to like America. I mean, it's really not that big of a location. So even though you think of Europe as an entire continent, it's not that large. I live in Texas. Texas could eat most of the European countries for breakfast. Okay, they are small in comparison to what where I live, and so you have to think of the proximity of all of this happening in Europe, and it's crazy. It is absolutely insanity how close everything was to each other.
Mm-hmm.
So Churchill seemed like a pretty, he was a little crazy, but he seemed pretty okay from what I know about him.
Yeah.
Against the, oh Jesus, it's a minor drama. Consider this: America has never had to introduce rationing because you were never short of food. We're kind of big over here.
I don't know if Americans know the concept of rationing food.
Yeah, we have a lot of space over here. Okay, like I mean, Texas alone, we have a lot of land. People have a tendency to forget that most other areas do not. Even in America, we do not have that much land.
I was making a fat joke, but okay.
I was making a real statement. How dare you? We don't joke here.
I'm sorry.
Ooh, how dare you? That's rude. Humorous rationing. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it has. That is an interesting concept. I don't think if America has rationed.
I mean, there were rations during World War II, but it was stuff like glass and nylon and stuff like that. Things
like
needed
gasoline.
for the yeah, not food though. I don't remember.
Rations? No, I don't think so.
Unless you count the early days of 2020 when grocery stores were basically ransacked from people like, I need to buy everything. Good times.
Even then, I mean, I got some dry pasta and I was able to make some stuff out of that. So, if you season your pasta right as it's boiling, it really doesn't actually need any sauce. If you can't get any, so it's not that big of a deal. So, milk, eggs, cheese, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no.
That picture still is burned in my brain. Thanks, Internet.
No, I'm hitting play.
Its smaller wallet and anti-colonial revolutions that it simply did not have the funds to fight. People were fighting back, and they were broke. The United States supported the United Kingdom with their imperialist ambitions for a while if it meant ruffling the feathers of communist states, but ultimately the UK disengaged from many of its colonies over the course of the mid to late 20th century. Some say that it wasn't really until the 1997 handover ceremony in which the UK gave up Hong Kong to China that the empire had finally and truly ended.
And that's worked out so well for Hong Kong.
Yes, Hong Kong is very happy that happened to them. Yes, definitely.
National power and influence, there was Bond, boldly fighting communists, terrorists, and racist caricatures of people who the UK had previously colonized.
Oh wait, he was white? Oh man. I didn't know that. Was he? Is that real? Is that a real thing? Hold on. I need to know this now. Hold on.
Also,
oh my gosh, he was Canadian. Oh, the worst villain of them all.
it also should be pointed out how many Chinese actors fluent in English were there around England in the 1960s?
I don't know.
Probably not that many. Probably not that many.
I don't know. I guess I never thought of. I just took him at face value as a character. I didn't actually I didn't know he was. I didn't know that. All right.
I mean, it's not like, Ricardo Montalban playing an Indian man, even though he's clearly Latin.
Yeah. 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 I don't know. I don't know. When you look at old stuff like this, it's like I don't know. I don't really have an opinion on it one way or another. Because I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Colonized and subjugated. In You Only Live Twice, Bond disguises himself in Yellowface. A lot of people dismiss outrage over racial insensitivity as hope.
Oh, yes, and he did such a good job. He looks more like a Vulcan pretending to be a human than he does anything else, okay? Tell me right now that he looks like he is anywhere near being Asian.
No, he
He
does
does
not.
not. No, it is laughable. No. Like I said, he looks like a Vulcan trying to be a human more than anything else. So,
To be offended. Well, offense all on its own isn't the problem. Why it bothers people and what it is conveying and influencing both matter. So let's talk about that. All on
come on, really? Are we? He doesn't look. He doesn't look Japanese. He doesn't look anything less than a human that is, white, and that's it. With a slight tan. Like he's been out in the sun too long. I don't get it. I don't know. Josh, is this bothering you?
I mean, I'm not offended at all. It's just,
Yeah, I'm just like, okay, I don't know. I never read this scene as that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't think they were
I
trying to. I don't think they were trying to be like offensive.
no.
I never thought of that. But
Yeah, I thought
this is a guy who just
you're welcome. You're not even really Canadian, Chris. Yeah, I said it.
I mean, he's said multiple times that he's an Aussie transplanted into Canada.
Yeah.
And of that list, Seth Rogen is by far the worst.
Yeah.
Oh wait, I see. I didn't see Justin there.
Oh my gosh, I didn't read Justin. Yeah, Justin's cringe.
Yeah.
Super cringe.
Did you see the Team Barbie tweet he posted?
No, but I'm not surprised.
like 2 days after the announcement of he's getting divorced from his wife, he's at a picture at a screening of Barbie with another dude saying we're Team Barbie.
Like, oh, you know what, honey? You're not getting anything for that. All right,
yeah.
On its own, Yellowface reflects an ethnocentric perception of East Asians rather than the authentic.
Oh, look at how East Asian he looks.
Yeah.
That's embarrassing.
The guy on the left is like, I can grow one chest hair.
Yes. As he looks like Sean Connery looks more Italian in this picture than East Asian. Okay.
Yeah, he does. Oh, Chris,
Yeah.
was that his son in the picture? Okay.
I think that's more cringe, honestly.
Yeah.
Depictions of their culture.
I'm so glad the United States leadership isn't cringy at all.
Portrays East Asians as broad caricatures. These images infect.
I'm just gonna say this once: Pokemon go to the polls. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Popular consciousness and influence the way we think about people, even to the point of thinking about them not as people at all, but as the caricature. But it's especially troublesome when you consider the United Kingdom's history in Asia, more specifically in China. The British market loved their tea and silk, but did not have enough silver to trade with China. Instead, they bartered with opium that the British took from India. The government in China and British markets began to clash in what became known as the Opium Wars.
Oh, I've heard about that. I forgot about that part of world history.
Yeah.
Yeah,
which I assure you is not as cool as it sounds.
it
The
didn't
increase in
sound
opium
cool.
in China from 1790 to 1832 created a generation of addicts, and the wars themselves cost the lives of thousands upon thousands of people. The
Wars have a tendency to do that, yes. It takes two to tango, by the way, in a war.
It does. I mean, he's making it sound like um bartering was a bad thing. Well, no, if you don't have the money, you can always barter. But did they force China to take the opium?
No? And
Again,
yeah,
I'm
opium
not.
wars.
I'm not saying it's good.
Opium war is not the. Yeah. Well, like I said this at the beginning. Every single country on this planet has had 1 to 2 shitty moments. Okay, at least 1 to 2, if not more. You're talking about a bunch of stupid humans running countries, hoping for the best. Kind of just you're gonna do something really dumb every once in a while because that's just how it works. It was really dumb to have a war over opium.
Yeah.
I don't even. Do they even understand how bad opium was? I don't know. You kind of think like what we know now about addiction and opium and stuff, but you have to think they didn't know that shit like 300 years ago. You kind of got to wonder, like, you know?
I mean, because opium was made in like they had like snuff boxes back then. So I mean,
Yeah.
so it was something that you could literally just sniff.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know entirely what they knew about it though.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, they obviously didn't know the psychological implications of it. Um, yeah, I don't know. Kind of just interesting.
Mm-hmm.
The result of this was British control of aforementioned Hong Kong. So, a movie about a British agent in yellowface has an added level of cringe to it. Live and Let Die takes place partly in the
Baby died.
Caribbean. British colonial efforts in the Caribbean included, but was not limited to, exploiting the islands for sugar. The plantation system and the slave trade led to regular slave resistance in many Caribbean islands throughout the colonial era. In the film, MI6 agents are killed in a Caribbean nation, prompting the involvement of James Bond. The
Yes.
film, of course, depicts these killings as despicable, rather than referencing the fact
Hi,
that these
Lucky.
agents were conducting espionage on a sovereign nation.
Okay. All right. So I understand, but his job is to go in and so okay. We're looking way too we're looking way too deep past this. So his whole job is when he is called upon, he is basically to clean up or to fix or to solve a problem that nobody else can. He's like the last resort, right? So you have all these
Mm-hmm.
MI6 agents that went in. They were doing espionage. They were doing all this shit for whatever reason. All right, they die, so then he has to go in and find out how and why. So he has to get answers to these questions.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I feel like that's kind of like he is a government tool, and the government wants an answer, so he goes and gets them, or he solves the problem, or he whatever. It's just that's what he
But
does.
but you have someone trying to undermine a sovereign nation, and that's wrong. Which is why I'm sure he was totally in favor of the whole Brittany Griner situation, and she should just be locked up right now, right?
Oh no.
Oh, wait a minute. I'm so glad we gave the Merchant of Death over to Russia in exchange for a basketball player. That's just a wonderful trade.
Yeah, it was equal. What do you mean?
Yeah.
Such a nation would have good reason to believe that MI6 is either plotting a coup or plotting to destabilize a power that does not share its economic interests, because that is the consistent track record of the UK and its ally, the US. The less said about James Bond infiltrating India in Octopussy, the better. Actually, you know what?
I'm fucking 5 years old, but that name is always funny. Anyway, sorry, just moving.
That's kind of a cop out. Let's talk about India. The British
Okay.
Crown ruled India from 1858 to 1947. Although
Uh-huh.
prior to that, the British East India Company controlled the nation for about a century. By
Mm-hmm.
1890, about 6,000 British officials ruled 250 million Indians. In
Yep.
1919, when peaceful protesters defied a government order and demonstrated against British colonial rule, they were
Mm-hmm.
blocked inside the walled Jallianwala Gardens and fired upon by Gurkha soldiers. Under the orders of Brigadier Reginald Dyer, the soldiers kept firing until they ran out of ammunition.
Aren't you happy that we have the First Amendment? That was very smart of us to have that First
Yeah.
Amendment.
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, just saying.
And there's some, there are usually some asshole, self-absorbed YouTube video essayists who think the First Amendment's a bad thing.
Oh, well, it protects our right to protest.
Yeah.
Oh, if it's broken, which is always a dumb idea, um, you know, people can be tried and shit. Breaking an amendment is really, really bad. So,
Thousand and injuring another thousand within about 10 minutes. Dyer was praised as a hero by the British public, who raised £26,000 for him as a thank you for killing so many Indians.
sorry, my brain only heard 26 pounds. They raised 26 pounds as a thank you to their hero. It's like, wow. A whole 26 pounds. Not 26,000. Okay.
Oh, Rambam with the British facts here.
Look, Britishisms. Yay.
So yeah, apparently Churchill was like, yeah, no.
Yeah, I agree. That wasn't a proud moment. These people were just protesting your bullshit, and you were like, you know what? We're just going to kill all of you. Yeah, that's not good. I don't know. I don't actually know what he's talking about. He's talking about, so there was a time that a bunch of Indians, while under British rule, decided to protest the British's bullshit, and they were fired upon. That sounds like a massacre to me. I'm assuming that's what they're talking about.
Yeah, but I wonder if he'll mention the detail that Churchill was like, yeah, we're not going to celebrate that.
It's kind of like a GoFundMe for a massacre. Depending on who you ask, between 12 and 29 million Indians died of starvation while it was under the control of the British Empire, as millions of tons of wheat were taken from India and sent to Britain. In 1943 alone, up to 4 million Bengalis starved to death when good old Winston Churchill diverted food to British soldiers and countries such as Greece, while a deadly famine swept through Bengal. Of the famine in 1943, Churchill
And also in 1943, there was a thing called World War II going on. So
No.
They were kind of desperate for supplies for the soldiers. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying that people dying of starvation is a good thing at all. I'm not saying that. But it happened in there was a famine in 1943. That was also during World War II, and the United Kingdom played a huge part in that. They were involved. Unless he's saying it's perfectly fine for Hitler to win. I guess he's saying that's okay then.
Yeah, obviously. What do you mean? Yeah, I don't. Was it a good move? No, but it wasn't just pure evil for pure evil's sake.
Mm-hmm.
So, the world's a lot more complicated than people just being evil. It's kind of a lame way to put it.
Exclaimed, "I hate Indians. They are a beastly people with a beastly religion. The famine was their own fault for breeding like rabbits. Let the viceroy sit on the back of a giant elephant and trample Gandhi into the dirt." In 1947, with the
Holy shit! Someone take the microphone away from Churchill. He's a little sassy today. Damn.
Note he didn't have an attribute. It wasn't attributed. Like, where was that quote taken from? He didn't list it.
Obviously, it was Churchill. What do you mean?
Just saying. just pointing that out.
Just hurt Churchill doing Churchill things. Let's see. Churchill. Oh, that actually is a thing. That really was a thing. There's like quotes of them saying it.
Okay.
British Empire losing India, Cyril Radcliffe was tasked with drawing the border between India and the newly created state of Pakistan over the course of a single lunch. That is not a joke. Radcliffe decided to split the subcontinent along religious lines: India for the Hindus and Pakistan for the Muslims.
You know what? There are worse ways that he could have done that.
It did not work out well.
No, but I mean, I also don't know what else. Hey, during your lunch break, can you like draw the outline of this country real quick? Yeah, thanks. Usually, people will use natural, like a natural lines, like rivers and stuff, to do lines. Just saying.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it didn't really end well, did it? It did not.
Over 10 million people. This meant that Hindus in Pakistan and Muslims in India were forced to escape their homes. Radcliffe's parting gift to India was to create an incredibly violent and dangerous situation. Some estimates suggest up to 1 million people lost their lives in sectarian killings. To this day, many British citizens see their oppression of India as a net positive for Indians. Shashi Tharoor, author of Inglorious.
Hey,
a lot of Indians say that it was also an overall good thing too.
Yeah, I don't know. I actually don't know enough about the British. Most of my information came from a high school class and the Pirates of the Caribbean. Okay, I don't know that much about it. I really don't. I don't really have a strong opinion on it because I don't know that much about it, which is totally fine. It's totally fine not to have a strong opinion about something. I'm actually kind of just weirded out that we're talking about James Bond, apparently. Like, we're like a quarter into this video.
This is why I hate Renegade Cuts so much.
Any relationship with Daniel Radcliffe. That clearly isn't Churchill. Well, you know what's funny is even if it was Churchill, he wasn't prime minister, so who cares what he said after that? You know what I mean? Have power to say, just he could have just been running his mouth, and it didn't matter because he doesn't have the power to do anything about it anymore. Oh look, we were also asking the same question. Yep. So we don't. Yeah, I don't. We're talking about James Bond. The most interesting thing I have found out in these first 10 minutes is that apparently the guy that played Dr. No wasn't Asian, like, at all. So that's the most interesting factoid I have at the moment.
Glorious Empire finds the argument galling. In response to the claim by Neil Ferguson that the Empire laid the foundations for eventual success in a future globalized world, Thoreau rightly countered with this. Ferguson also suggests that, in the long run, the victims of British imperialism will prove to have been its beneficiaries, since the Empire laid the foundations for their eventual success in tomorrow's globalized world. But human beings do not live in the long run. They live and suffer in the here and now, and the process of colonial rule in India meant economic exploitation and ruin to millions. The destruction of thriving industries, the systematic denial of opportunities to compete, the elimination of indigenous institutions of governance, the transformation of lifestyles and patterns of living that had flourished since time immemorial, and the obliteration of the most precious possessions of the colonized, their identities and their self-respect.
So, would anyone like to tell me what the fuck this has to do with James Bond? I also think it is incredibly stupid to say that the world doesn't exist in the long run. Long run and short run. That is, human beings exist in. What happens today will affect tomorrow and the years after that. But it also affects them today. That's silly to say, well, it affects them today. We shouldn't be worried about the long run. You should always be worried about the long run. Are you going to be around on this planet for a long time? Yeah. Okay. Well, then you should exist as if you are going to. Stupid. Anyway.
And the what was it? The systematic denial of opportunities to compete. Hey, you know how many scam companies are in India right now? I hear from them almost every other day. Okay, so they're
doing great, apparently.
They are leading the world in scam calls.
Yeah, don't deny them. There's a right to scam.
I got one thick, heavy Indian accent. Hello, I am an agent from the Internal Revenue Service, and there has been an issue with your taxes. If you do not pay within the next 30 minutes, the police will come to arrest you. Oh, okay, sure, that's how that works.
Ah, yes, the IRS is very, very, very busy at the moment, you know. They had to outsource all their shit to India. It's fine.
So, yeah. I like messing with the scam calls when I get them.
Oh, I just ignore them. I'm just like, no, I don't know you. If it's important, you'll leave a message. It's pretty much how I deal with things.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Traditions of the colonized, their identities, and their self-respect. James Bond's forays into other countries without their permission to perform covert operations with an ironclad license.
What is this? What is this filter, Josh?
Did he put a filter on it to try to avoid copyright? Is that what he's doing?
Oh, fair enough. If that's the case. I can't blame him for that.
to kill makes for a potentially exciting premise, but also a solid portrayal of imperialism shown in a very personal way with one agent, rather than how it is generally employed with massive armies and intelligence operations involving many people. Bond becomes a kind of avatar for imperialism. It's important to note
Oh
that
my
Bond's actions are
God.
rarely, if ever, seen as questionable to the audience. They are aspirational. When we see these depictions, we have to ask ourselves who or what is the target and who is creating this portrayal. These movies are not critical of British imperialism. They are uncritical action movies in which imperialism is a fun romp. It doesn't hold a mirror up to society if the target is the victim. It trivializes the victim. I know from experience discussing this in the past,
Uh,
when these concepts are brought to light, someone always says, well, what about movies made in those very countries? Don't they often depict?
Yeah, do not insult Bollywood. Bollywood has a lot of hilarious things, okay? Their editing is top notch.
yeah. And again,
English
what
and
does
Americans?
what does movies made in India have to do with James Bond?
I would love a Bollywood version of James Bond. Let's do this. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Pretty sure everyone would be okay with that. Just
Badly? Yeah, maybe. Bollywood probably depicts the British unfavorably at times, but to claim this is the same is a false equivalency. People
Why?
of color depicting those who have historically colonized and enslaved them.
all right. So I have a lot of Irish blood in me. What do I do?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying. So it's okay when other cultures do it because people were mean to them in the past?
Okay. So does that
So
mean you could,
every. What?
or does that mean you can go to the works of, like, say, William Shakespeare or other older British playwrights when you had uh oh god, I'm drawing a complete blank. Um when
Yes.
this is what complete brain fart right now. The uh the Crusades, who'd they fight?
Shit. Those people. Yes. Hold on. I'm definitely not looking it up right now. Crusades. Uh.
Oh my god.
Fuck. Unhelpful.
And
Fuck.
Ram Bam, yes, I agree. She's pretty
See.
hot.
Agreed. Okay, you know what? This is unanimous. I think we all agree. Yeah, Bollywood, make a James Bond. Come on, do it. I'm excited. Yeah, Bollywood and Hollywood, yes. Oh, Bond. No, don't tell him Bond is the protagonist. I don't. Whatever. Anyway. I don't know. It's kind of weird to say. It's okay if you've been oppressed. It's okay for you to depict people in a negative way. And, I mean, honestly, everybody can do that then, because at some point, every group of people have been oppressed one way or another. Just saying.
Yes.
That's just kind of how it's been. There we go. We did it. I thought Jerusalem was Jewish city. Is it not? I'm gonna hit play.
Yeah.
And if you remember it, Josh, we'll come back.
Is not the same as a UK film depicting the people who they colonized and enslaved. It might look similar on the surface, but only if you completely ignore context and history. If someone violently attacks you and you have to employ violence as a means of self defense to save your life, you and your attacker are both technically being violent, but your
Oh,
self
hold on.
defense is more justified than the violence of the aggressor.
Okay, so all right, hold on.
I
So-
Obi-Wan.
So I am now incredibly confused. So you're telling me that a self-defense case where somebody attacks somebody and then somebody fights back to defend themselves is the same thing. So that concept is now being imprinted upon, let's say, Bollywood, which you couldn't find an example of if Bollywood did a James Bond thing, except they were in Europe. Okay, that's like the opposite, right? So you'd
Yeah.
have like the Indian James Bond, but they're in like the UK. So they're okay. They're allowed to do that, but James Bond is not allowed to go to India and fight Indians that are doing shitty things that are probably oppressing a lot of Indian people.
Or if you want,
So
or if you want to go with that logic, a nation or a large group of people attack you, you then have the right to attack them back. So therefore, he would have totally been in favor of our 2-decade-long war in Afghanistan, right? Because that's the same thing, right? He by his logic, he would be in favor of it, right?
you're right, yes.
Okay. I'm just trying to make sure.
Popular war of Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Okay. You didn't enslave them. No. You didn't. No, I don't.
Yeah.
I think the British enslaved them. They just kind of like occupied them and had them as like a summer home, basically.
I mean,
They were like,
they had like governors and stuff. So they had like
yeah,
they had people that were in charge of the territory, but they kind of did their own thing.
yeah,
As long as they just, paid taxes to the queen.
yes. It's like franchising. It's like having a second location for your business, basically. What?
Yes. So the British occupation of India was just like opening a second McDonald's. It's the exact same thing.
Exactly. Yeah. No. It's like, hey, we don't have any fries. Well, does the second location have fries? Yeah. Okay. Well, let's go get some fries at the second location then. They have a surplus of it. It's fine.
Exact same thing.
Yeah. Exactly. 100%. Yeah, I'm sure the English and French still don't snipe at each other occasionally. Yeah.
Only a Sith deals in absolutes, and context is for kings. People who wish to dismiss
But
these issues always call it people being offended. The problem with Bond as the
okay, I don't. Okay.
avatar of imperialism is not simple offense. The problem is what it projects as good and civilized, and what it projects as bad and beastly.
So human sacrifice is not something that people should try to stop?
How about this? If something is a shitty culture, regardless of what the color of the people are, it's a shitty culture. There you go. I just fixed it.
Yeah.
I fixed it.
Yeah.
something is shit, then it is shit. The anti-intellectual. Okay.
The United States and the United Kingdom. have
Ah, my eyeballs.
Why does he need to put the filter over footage from the Senate?
I don't know. Maybe they copyright claimed him. That would be funny.
That would be funny
Moved
if the United
differently in
States Senate
parliamentary
copyrighted
conversation, laws
him.
about firearm
Yeah,
ownership,
no, right?
healthcare, and other aspects that make up the lives of citizens in differing nations. But the US and the UK share similar cultural attitudes as they relate to the bones of their national identities.
Yeah, it's almost as if when like America was created based on British colonies and shit, that we were part of Britain at one point, and so
Yeah.
like a lot of the shit that were like foundations of our culture came from Britain because the people that came over were British.
Yeah.
A lot of them were. And then we've just become this glorious melting pot of all different types of cultures. Because if something's cool, we want it to be a part of our culture. Or at least that's how it used to be.
Now that's appropriation.
I hate that. It's like, hey, I kind of like this thing over here. Let's keep it.
Capitalism and imperialism being among the most obvious.
You know, for a bunch of people who absolutely hate nationalism, the people who talk about cultural appropriation are very much in the same mindset as nationalists.
Yes.
The isolationists, the people that just everybody should have their own thing and stay away from each other. There should be no mixing. There will be no intercultural mixing. It's very odd to me. I
It
don't get
is.
it.
And demonstrable.
He also keeps
Most attitudes
conflating. He also keeps conflating nationalism and capitalism. He's done it several times already.
Yeah. Well, it's the same thing, don't you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
they relate to traditionalism, nationalism, and reactionary perspectives as they relate to immigration, terrorism, and other boogeymen of the West. Many of the
Okay. I hate this. People generally don't have a problem with immigrants. It's people coming in illegally. And I will tell you right now, people who immigrate legally hate people who immigrate
Yes, they
illegally
do.
more
Yes,
more
they
than
do.
anybody else. Anybody who was born here cannot possibly and will not possibly hate illegal immigrants more than the people who immigrated here legally. They just don't.
Yes.
This because it's hard to get citizenship generally in countries, and so when you work your ass off to get citizenship, and then somebody comes in and basically shortcuts
And
you in line, they hate it.
And the thing is, like, compared to other countries in the world, we're actually pretty easy comparatively.
Yeah, have you? Do you know how hard it is to get into Japan? You have
Extremely
to
hard.
prove. You have to literally prove that you are worth having in their country.
Hey, Mary.
Hey, Mary, how's it going? Yeah, like Japan makes you prove to them that you are a benefit to their country.
Yes.
If you cannot prove that you are beneficial to their country, you cannot get in.
Chris, could you get Mary's charity link up on here?
Ah, yes.
That'd be great.
I shall. I will pin it.
cultural similarities between the US and the UK are embodied in James Bond, a figure who is both inherently British and containing qualities, attitudes, attributes, and worldviews beloved by and or espoused by Americans. Bond is not
Oh my god, it's like British and America are similar.
Yeah.
I know.
How about
Concept. Who would have seen that one coming?
seen as foreign in America because without the accent or the references to serving MI6, the paradoxical world famous secret agent is as welcomed in American pop culture as he is in the country of origin. One quality of Bond that is perhaps even more American than British is that of anti-intellectualism. Anti-intellectualism.
Fuck you. I hate that.
Speaking of anti-intellectualism, I think we're listening to an anti-intellectual right now.
Mm.
Because this is
Okay,
not the definition.
everyone.
This is not the definition I would use for anti-intellectualism. I disagree
Yeah,
with
when I
this.
think of anti-intellectualism, to me is you are a big dumb. That is how I hear that phrase.
Yes.
You are big stupid dumb. That is what that says to me. Because you're anti-intellectual, so you are the opposite of intellectual, which means you're stupid. Okay, here, hold on. I gotta pin the thingy thing. Let me pin the thing. Pin.
Yay!
Okay. Everyone trusts science when it benefits them, and people are distrustful of science when it does not benefit them. That is how humans are. That is just how it works. That is yeah. So, um,
Oh my God, Mary! I just saw what the top goal is. That's amazing.
hey, Chris, that you are a big dumb. You are a big dumb for insulting saying I'm in first grade. That's rude. How dare you? I said you are a big dumb. And now you're being a bit dumb for saying that I'm in first grade. Yeah, I said it. Destructive academia and fear that intellectuals have sinister motives is very much a constrained worldview. I agree. You are welcome. Oh my goodness. Oh my god. Alright.
Is a variety of ideas and attitudes that have points of convergence. For one, it's a hostility and explicit mistrust of anyone or anything perceived as intellectual for fear that it or they are out of touch with common concerns or have nefarious intentions. Anti intellectualism positions itself as a populist movement, generally right wing, and seeks to damage or
No,
discredit
no, 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 no,
any
no, no,
understanding.
no, 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 no.
You, again, what does this
Deafening.
have to do with James Bond?
I don't know. I don't know how Trump has anything to do with James Bond, quite frankly. Fine. Fine.
Hey, Loki.
Alright. So the definition of anti-intellectualism that you are using is used by everybody at some point or another. Okay, at some point, some people are going to distrust something by an academic or something. Okay, at some point, everyone does that. That is just how it is, and it's not just it is not right wing, it's not left wing, it is everybody. Everybody does that eventually. Why? Because at some point, some intellectual, academic, whatever, tells you says something, and you're like, I don't know if I agree with that. And so you either continue to not agree with it and don't do any research, or you do research and whatever, and so on and so forth. So I don't, it's not a one party thing. Everyone does it. It's a thing everybody does. It is very, very regressive to say that it is a single party. It is even mostly a single party problem. It's an everybody problem. We all have a little bit of a conspiracy nut inside of us. Technically, if you believe in the JFK thing, the magic bullet or whatever, you believe in some other kind of theory, you're a little bit of a conspiracy nut. Oh my goodness. Okay, that's funny. That's a 10 out of 10 comment. That's good.
It should have been Bob grabbed a pussy galore.
Yes.
But yeah.
So anyway, all right. We might actually finish this.
And we are now in Purple Man Bad territory, right?
Yes.
Purple Man Bad.
I still don't feel like I've really had Bond explained to me.
No.
But we are chugging through this video. I'm kind of impressed. I thought this was going to be a two-parter. It's kind of looking like it's not going to be a two-parter. So, all right.
Research for its own goals. Populism, at its core, is a style of rhetoric that positions two powers in the public discourse: the people and the elites. However, populism as a right-wing tactic ignores the actual people versus elites, meaning the poor and rich, respectively, and instead...
Nah, okay. All right.
Oh my god, you seriously can't be that naive.
No. Elites is anybody with a lot of power. Money has a tendency to represent power, so most of the time it is like the elites. All right.
It's our senators, it's our congressmen.
Yes.
It's
they have
heads of huge mega corporations.
You have the people in Hollywood. It has all the giant mansions and shit. It's like,
well, they're starting to sell them off now.
Well, it's interesting, but from what I've gathered, the elites versus the people, it's basically the elites are like the 1%. All right, so you got like the 1%, maybe even the top 5%, right? And then the rest of it is the 95%. The 95% would include the middle class, just as a fun fact. The middle class would also be included in the people because the middle class is not in the elites. They're too poor to be in the elite class. They don't have enough power. You're talking about the middle and the poor class. Or the lower income class, whatever you want to call them.
Actually, Rambam has it.
Liars, the crooks, and traitors who dare to call themselves our betters. Yeah, I don't like being looked down upon just because I don't have as much money in my bank account as somebody else. That pisses me off. I don't like that. It's like, oh, I'm glad that you think you're better than me because you have a whole bunch of this currency that we have decided as a society to put a value on. Let me tell you something. If banker boxes became the currency tomorrow, I'd be richer than you. I got so many banker boxes sitting in my hallway right now. When did communism ignore the poor? Communism ignores everyone. Communism doesn't give a shit about anybody except the 3 people that are in charge of the country.
Basically, yes.
Yes, and I think if you're going to tout communism, you need to go live in a communist state for a little bit. That's my opinion. See, I'm a fan of capitalism. So I'm perfectly fine living in a capitalist state. But if you're going to tout something else, then I feel like you need to go experience that. Yes. Yes, it's literally always been that way. It's never not been that way. It's hilarious to me. It's like, oh, we just figured out this new concept that people that have a whole lot of money want to do, think that they're better than everyone. Yeah. What? How do you think royal families start exactly? Royalty isn't. God doesn't come down from the heavens and bless you with royalty, okay? Generally speaking, people become royalty because of power and wealth, and then they're just considered royalty until, either that doesn't, all the everybody dies out, or the people revolt or something or so on. You have like the rare exception, which is England, which has, for funsies, decided to keep the royal family around. Just for fun, I guess. So,
Yeah.
yeah, just kind of, just a,
Cobbles together the elites as bookworm socialists, tenured professors, and really anyone who lives in major cities.
no, 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 no. Apparently, you have never visited a major city. As someone who lives fairly close to one, I am aware of what it's like to live around the major city. So in the major city, you have all your really big buildings, and sometimes you'll have big apartment buildings, right? So you'll have your fancy. So you have your inner city, your big your ones. You'll have a lot of like fancy corporate stuff. And then you'll have rings and pockets of little things, right? So you'll have like you will literally have people who are barely scraping by down the street from somebody who has millions of dollars. Okay, that is how like cities are. Okay, and the further you get out, the closer it gets to rural areas, right? You have the suburbs, and the suburbs have a whole types of category on that. There's whole different gradients of suburbs. Okay, all suburbs are not created equal. All right, you can have a suburb of mansions, and you can have a suburb of rundown homes. That is entirely. It's just, I don't know. It's I think it's really silly to just be like, oh look, it's the people that go to college, and it's the people that like are bookworms, and it's these people and that. No, the elites are people who have a lot of money and a lot of power. And that's pretty much it for the most part. Most of them think that they know what's best for everybody because they've accumulated so much money and power that they think they're better than most people. Which I can't really fault them for necessarily, that they think that, because they've managed to do stuff other people don't. They managed to obtain stuff that other people don't have. So it's kind of natural that they would think like that, even though I think it is wrong for them to think like that. And silly, absolutely dumb to me. I hate.
And what's a
Anybody can be
Chronos?
poor. Oh my goodness, what is a Chronos? I do not know what a Chronos is.
I wanted to ask the real important question.
That's fair. That is fair. Yeah, I hate the idea that, oh, because I went to college, I'm an elite now. No, you're not.
No, I have a college degree, and it's not really doing me anything.
I have a college degree. It did me some good.
If you have ever heard American politicians tell rural voters that people from New York City and Washington, D.C. are out of touch with real America, you have.
Okay.
Were they wrong?
A lot of times, two very vastly different cultures will clash against each other. Rural culture and city culture have a tendency to do that. So you'll have like your rural red and your city blue. And it's very difficult to step into somebody's shoes that you have like no concept of, except for stereotypes and like parodies. So
Yeah.
a lot of country folk will stay in the country, and a lot of city folk will stay in the city, and it's not exactly an uncommon thing. I don't know. Maybe I just like more nuanced takes. I
And
would
you're
say a
looking at
lot of
Renegade cut?
yeah, good point. I would say a lot of New Yorkers have an incredibly parody narrow view of what it's like to live in Texas just by itself. You know, it's you tell somebody there that they live in Texas, and it's like you're like from a different planet. Oh, you all have ranches and blah and blah blah, and it's like, okay, no.
So you do realize like Houston's like one of the biggest cities on in the country, right?
Yeah, like we're number
It's like
4,
fourth?
catching up to Chicago. Yeah, like we're catching up to Chicago.
Since everyone's leaving Chicago.
Yes, so it's just, I don't know. Houston's pretty gigantic, and it's always silly to me to just categorize Texas as being like this podunk state. It's like, do you not understand how big it is? It's the second biggest state in all of America. It's huge. There's so many different cultures. There's so many different types of people, and just it's so rich with culture and
But I heard it's filled with bigots. So, oh my god.
okay. You went to a gas station apparently in the middle of nowhere, and some dude that that has no idea what's going on. It's still talking about the Vietnam War like it happened yesterday. I mean, that's apparently your extent with Texas. It's bizarre. Oh my goodness, Chris, you should have done it. Boo! You should have done it and then hung it up on your wall. Oh, so annoying.
Stunning and brave, Chris.
So stunning.
Have heard essentially populist rhetoric. These mistakenly labeled elites, the bookish 20-something earning $10 an hour and reading Marx at a...
No, you're hipsters.
No,
Okay.
no,
you are not
no,
an elite.
no,
No. No, you're not. Okay, when I say elite, I'm talking about people that have like 12 lots. Okay.
Yeah.
So much.
The elites that we're referring to are people who have 5 vacation homes spread across the world. They have fuck you money, basically, right?
Yes. When you hit fuck you money, you're an elite, okay? You have so much money, you have so much power. You could do pretty much, you could blow like $100,000 a day and still have like the most comfortable retirement ever. Okay, that is the kind of money I'm talking about. Insane amounts of money. All right. You're just like the dinners they eat are your entire monthly food budget, okay? Like that's what I'm talking about. I am not talking about you damn hipsters who went to college, think you know everything, got a barista job at your local coffee shop, okay? And think you know everything. No, that you are not elites, you are hipsters.
No.
We already have
and Renegade cut. I think there was a little projection going on there.
Yes, Renegade Cut, you are not an elite. I would never in a million years define you as an elite. Alright? I'm fairly certain on this. I'm pretty sure you don't have fuck you money. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
Baffling. Utterly baffling. Who are these people? If there are people out there describing them as elites, then I don't know what to tell you. Wanna be elites? Maybe. But I feel like everybody would want to have fuck you money.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's like, hold on. I mean, everyone's biggest problems with the elites are, I'm not one of them, right?
I don't have that money. Damn it. Yeah, I don't. Silly. really silly. No, in a million years, I would never ever call those types of people. No.
Starbucks, or the professor with the audacity to teach African American studies don't actually.
Okay, no, he's also not an elite. He's just a college professor. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't. What? No, he's not an elite.
Wield greater societal power than the politicians who condemn them, or the billionaires who supply said politicians.
Okay, Trump is an elite. I don't. That's not a hot take. Everybody knows
No.
this, or should.
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do I need to bring up a small loan of $1 million? Like, do you know what I would do with $1 million if I had $1 million? That would be crazy. And he was like, I have a small loan of $1 million. It's like, oh my God. Like, would have said college professor a senior. He didn't say that, though. So, ha.
Coffers. But in framing them as if they do, the targets of this rhetoric, voters, might believe it just enough to support said rhetoric and the other goals of the populist right-wing politician. In short, anti-intellectual rhetoric does not frame being smart or correct as bad or dangerous. Rather, it frames so-called intellectuals as peddlers of false ideas and actually not smart and not correct, and that the genuinely correct people are whoever the politician wants as their voting bloc. It's an attractive idea to be told that you are more correct and smart than the people who society says are the most educated. And that's how anti-intellectualism intersects with populism.
And what does this have to do with James Bond?
I was about to say, he more described flat earthers than he has actually like talked about James Bond.
Yeah.
All right, I believe in the Earth booty. Okay, that Earth is a giant booty. All right, it's not round. All right, or flat.
Oh my goodness!
It's just a giant. It's a giant butt. All right, that is my theory. Just saying.
Most extreme, anti-intellectualism is utilized in totalitarian.
Okay, I'm gonna say it. This man has small dick syndrome. Okay, have you seen? I mean, just, no way he doesn't. Look at him. No way he's.
In governments such as fascist Italy and Germany, leading up to World War II, Benito Mussolini praised.
Oh, that explains it. I didn't realize that was Mussolini. That's hilarious. You know how we were talking about Mussolini? Like he's the loudest. He's Hudson. He's the loudest talker, right? But he just like falls on his face and doesn't really do anything beneficial to anybody. That is the exact vibe I'm getting from him right now. That is so funny. We were dead on. Good job, Josh. Good job.
Yeah.
We did it.
Men of action. Fascism is intertwined with a kind of chauvinism and cult of strength. Intellectuals, in contrast, are portrayed as weak. The diminishment and mockery of education has the intended side effect of keeping the.
Okay. There were a lot of different types of books that weren't just like school books that were being burned there. So
Yeah.
just saying.
And none of them had. None of them were books geared towards children having gay sex. Just gonna throw that out there too.
Oh my God. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I know. Kind of interesting, right? He's just like, no, those were all like school books and shit. It's like, that wasn't everything that got burned.
Yeah.
Just saying. Just saying.
The populace uneducated and also unwilling to confront those in power for fear their perceived unacceptance of this status quo will be viewed as born of reading too much and knowing too.
No.
Oh my God.
No. The reason why Hitler and the Nazis became a thing is because people were starving, they were sick, they were exhausted. There was everything around them was like destroyed. The inflation, their economy was so in the shit. It made the Great Depression look like a small drop in the stock market. Okay, it was awful. Bread lines down down the street, down several blocks, and you maybe might get some bread. Maybe. Okay, these people were so poor, and they were starving, and they didn't know what to do. They were trying to take care of their families, and they were just fucked. And they turned to somebody who promised them a change, and they didn't understand fully what that entailed. They were vulnerable, and a wolf took advantage of it. All right, that is what happened.
Well, also don't forget, Hitler also became a thing because Indiana Jones was depressed and inadvertently saved him.
Stop it. I didn't watch Dial of Destiny, and I haven't seen any reviews on it. I refuse to. Get out of here.
Yeah, that's literally, yeah. There's
no. Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
A Nazi wants to go back in time to stop Hitler and correct his mistakes. So Indy's plan is basically he needs to save Hitler.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, the German people were insanely desperate. They were starving. Yes. They were watching their children die of like starvation, and they were it was horrible. The post World War I Germany was a horrific state. And to just be like, oh, it's because they just followed the Nazis because they didn't want to be challenged, or they didn't want blah, blah, blah. That kind of mindset didn't happen for a long-ass time, okay? The Nazis were very much already in power by the time a lot of people started going, you know, maybe this wasn't a good idea. It was too late by the time that kind of thinking got around, all right? Yeah. And they were poisoning the youth. They were taking, the Hitler youth, so to speak, and they would be spies. Same thing that happened in East Berlin, if I remember correctly. It just to destroy the family unit and to turn people against each other within the family unit is a remarkably destructive tactic, and it is pretty horrific when implemented. And you can if you go in and you look into what happened in East Berlin with the brown coats and everything, it was the brown coats were not just anybody. They were the people, just everyday people, basically turned into brown coats. It was horrible. It was a horrible time, and to just kind of this is a gross misunderstanding and misrepresentation of what happened in Germany in World War II, and it's pissing me off. It's really making me mad. I'm about halfway through. Yeah, we're about halfway through. So, anyway.
And my brain's already been melting for a little while now.
Yep.
Too much. This is shown in microcosm in the battle of wits and antagonistic relationship between James Bond, man of action, and Q, the quartermaster.
Fuck you. No. You don't get to take Q from me. You don't get to take Q. No.
What?
He's suggesting that Q is the intellectual and Bond fights back at him, And it's like, no, okay, you misunderstand the relationship between James Bond and Q. Okay? Q and James Bond have friendly banter. Okay? And
Yeah.
Q also knows that James Bond basically destroys everything he touches that Q gives him. And so he kind of has this exasperated, okay, I'll give you this because you need it, but could you at least try maybe this time to bring something back? No?
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. I have
It's
to
a-
give this to you anyway to benefit your mission, but man, I'd like to have some of this shit back, okay?
It's a prototype. Please bring it back in one piece. That kind of thing.
Yes, we only have like one of these, and I wouldn't give it to you if like we didn't have to. But I mean, here, oh, you literally brought nothing back. Thanks, James. All right, we'll have to. Thanks, J.O.S.H, I guess. We'll have to start from scratch, you asshole. Just and, and, and a lot of time it's doubly funny because most of the things he gives them, you can't really bring back. Like once they're used, they're kind of useless.
Yeah.
You know, like
It's like, oh, I've installed an ejector seat on your car. Well, that implies that you, if that's going to get used, there's no bringing that back because he's leaving the car.
yes, it's hilarious. It's fantastic. It's just the banter between Q and James Bond is hilarious in every iteration. Um, yeah, the accumulation of Qs for trying to make something Bond-proof. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just like Bond touches everything that Q's give him and destroys it. But it's the part of the humor is that most of the stuff Q gives him can't be. It's useless if he brought it back. You know. Thanks 007. That's another £1,000,000 in R&D down the drain. Yeah, there you go. Exactly. It's just how it is. It's funny. It's hilarious. It's great. Q's interactions with James Bond is some of the highlights of every film. Who doesn't love seeing the gadgets?
It's like the second plot point of every single Bond film. Like he gets the mission briefing, then he gets his gadgets. It's like that's the next part.
Yeah, what is he gonna end up? It's like some of the shit you're just like, what the hell is he gonna use that for? And then you see it implemented, and you're just like, oh, okay, I guess. So anyway, all right.
Inventor and top nerd of MI6.
Yes.
Q, a title and not a name, is
Yes.
head of Q branch, or
Yes.
Q division.
Correct.
Some
Yes.
version of Q has appeared in every Bond film, with a few
Yes.
exceptions like Live and Let Die and the first two Daniel Craig Bond films, Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace. Perhaps
Oh my god, you're right. Huh. I
Okay.
forgot about that.
as an attempt to distance the rebooted franchise from the gadgetry, light sci-fi elements, and camp that had become targets of mockery in the Austin Powers movies. Despite both serving MI6 and with no real reason to have any personal animus toward one another, Q sees Bond as a nuisance more than anything else.
Because he's breaking his
Conversely,
shit.
Bond
Because they spend hours upon hours upon hours and millions of dollars creating these cool little gadgets, and James Bond brings it back broken, if at all. Okay? I don't- Okay. I don't say this lightly, but Renegade Cut, go outside and touch grass. For the love of God, go touch some grass, okay? Yeah.
They still had respect for each other.
Yes, it's banter. What is this? What do you not understand what banter is?
It's like his job is to make the gadgets for the agents. They spend a lot of money into that, so he wants them back.
Yes, he's like, I kind of, here's my invention. Could you maybe bring it back, please? I'm really fond of this one. I like it. It's like he tries every time, and he never gives up trying to get Bond to like bring back some semblance of the thing he gave him. And he never does, ever, not one time. It's just I don't. Okay, all right, interesting take.
Figuratively rolls his eyes at Q's inventions while still benefiting from them, all the while taking jabs at Q himself. Q's
Oh my god, I figured it out. I figured out. He doesn't understand British humor.
That might be it. Or he has no friends and he doesn't understand banter with human beings.
Yeah, I mean, banter isn't just like a British thing, but British humor has a tendency to be.
Hi, Loki.
Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah, look, yeah. The problems with Q and Bond start in Doctor No when Bond shrugs off Q's suggestion that Bond replaces Beretta 9mm with the Walter PPK, which is also why Bond trusts Q with his suggestions. Yeah, he trusts Q, but he pokes him. You know, it's just like pretty much every scientist in a spy movie, hell, even in Despicable Me, that's how the relationship is. I don't know. The inventor invents shit, and then the guy that goes out and uses it's just like, what the hell is this? He gets explained it to him, and then he's like, oh, well, I might bring it back or something.
And also, like he also mentioned how they needed to change things because Bond was getting mocked in like the Austin Powers movies. Bond was already around for like almost 30 years before Austin Powers ever came out. It's been mocked before that. Just why? Like, why specifically bring up Austin Powers? I don't get it.
I don't either, but Austin Powers is hilarious.
Yeah, it is. I also really like the first Johnny English movie. I don't know if you've ever seen that with Rowan Atkinson.
I have not, but I am aware of what you're talking about.
Okay. There's this one shot where our two spies are parachuting in. She like pulls up her watch and it has like this huge, like this highly sophisticated like GPS system. He looks at his and it's like a map, like a literal map that he's just like taped onto his wrist. It's like that's wonderful.
It's amazing. It's like I've also seen saw the Get Smart movie, which is very good.
I haven't seen any of the remakes of Get Smart. I've seen the original show.
If you want a great, the Steve Carell Get Smart movie is absolutely fantastic. Highly recommend.
Okay.
Yeah, Tom Cruise was in that movie, wasn't he? Yeah, Tom Cruise is.
I believe so.
He's an insane Scientologist, but at least he's a little. He can take a joke sometimes.
Yeah.
It was a bit too self-aware. Maybe. It's still one of the really, really funny movies.
Again, I do prefer the original TV show.
I never saw the original TV show, so
Don Adams is Maxwell Smart to me. He just is.
okay.
His taste for Bond is referenced as being protective of his nerdy inventions, while Bond often damages or outright destroys them in the course of saving the world. Bond is largely unsympathetic and coolly dismisses Q's concerns with his trademark smugness and alpha male sense of superiority.
Oh my good lord. Okay, so I think that seals it for me. He does not understand British he doesn't understand British humor. Okay.
No, and Bond cruelly disregards his. Like, no, he doesn't. He's playing with him.
He says it with a slight smirk on his face, like
Yeah.
he's holding back a laugh. Like they're both doing it. They're both being like dry, sarcastic assholes to each other. But that's just.
This guy, Renegade Cut, you need to go into the Cone of Silence.
Kind of silent.
And you can just hold on this shot as long as you want. You can just do that.
Oh, okay. All right. I was like, why? Why is his face weird? And then I went to the right corner. It's like, boobs.
But yeah, he clearly does not understand human interaction.
Yeah, kind of baffled actually. It's kind of, I don't know, post Monty Python. It's just weird to me for people to not understand British humor.
Yeah.
Especially since British television is very easily accessible, especially to Americans. That's funny. He was able to figure out which that was. That's impressive. That's impressive. That's if Colin. That is pretty impressive. Look at this. Oh my goodness. Apparently, he watched all of them.
Yeah, that's
Which
what he claims.
I'm pretty surprised by because I don't know. Maybe it's almost like I need to watch them with him and just kind of be like, okay, so where are you getting all this information from? You know. So.
Over the impotent bookworm archetype that is Q. Bond himself is intelligent and well-traveled, but his intelligence never broaches the barrier of nerd. His abilities are practical.
You can be smart and not a nerd. What is this?
Yeah.
Okay, no. Hold on. Does he not understand that you can be smart and not a nerd? Being a nerd is an entirely different animal than being.
Yes.
You know, you could say. You know what? Actually, you could actually say James Bond is a nerd for alcohol. He has an insane amount of knowledge about it. You know, he nerds over like spy techniques and all that stuff. Why? Because he specializes in that. I don't know. Very bizarre to me.
For example, his knowledge of other languages helps him assassinate representatives of powers unfriendly to his country. Either that or to seduce women, of course. Bond is far from an oaf, but his intelligence is always displayed as the right way to be smart.
No. I mean, what? I don't know. I think being in the Q section of MI6 would be cool. You know, I don't. Josh, help.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, is that?
I always wanted to be, part of James Bond too. So yeah, being part of M6 would be cool.
I don't get it.
I'm not sure what his point is.
Okay, all right. I'll hit play. Maybe we can figure it out.
For those who traffic in anti-intellectualism, his cunning is sometimes showcased more as street smarts, particularly in the Daniel Craig Bond era. Bond went to university, but his education has gone into service of his country and, by extension, values like nationalism and...
And Q is not in service of his country. Who do you think he's making the gadgets for?
He's making those things for the agents
that serve the country. Josh, help! What? What?
Again, my head.
Brain. Oh, God.
And imperialism. He didn't become an artist, or a professor, or a scientist, or any of the other professions
became a
for
spy.
whom intellectuals show such disdain. Bond may
What?
have studied at Cambridge, but he would be damned if he ever took a course in gender studies.
Gender studies didn't exist in the 1960s, you walnut.
And how does taking a course in gender studies prepare you from going on a super secret mission?
Oh, it'll teach you how to treat women appropriately.
Oh.
Yeah.
Bond is smart in the way that Q is not. Bond is cool and uses practical knowledge to achieve practical goals the way that the average anti-intellectual chooses to see himself. These
What?
ideas certainly do not come from James Bond. He's merely representative of these ideas, although the popularity of media like this has done nothing to curtail it. Anti-intellectualism as public policy and popular thought was furthered in the United States and the United Kingdom not by the fascists that the two nations helped defeat in World War II, but by their own internal cultures and reaction to the Cold War, a recurring backdrop in the Bond films. Intellectualism began to be synonymous in the McCarthy era with communism. All these intellectuals reading Marx in university and questioning the capitalist and imperial.
Okay, apparently you just don't understand what the Cold War was about.
And incidentally, From Russia with Love is one of my favorites.
Is that the one with the annoying woman?
You're gonna have to be
I
a
know,
little more
unhelpful.
specific. It's the
There's
one where he had
one-
to. It's the one where he had to go to Russia.
Unhelpful. Okay. Is that the one there's a train? They're on a
Yes.
train. Okay. Alright, that's the one with the annoying woman. Let me just wind my way through this entire movie. Wee. Say, woman, I swear to God. Okay. Alright, I'm gonna hit play.
Imperialist
Okay.
dogmas of the West. In Ian Fleming's early novels, Bond was explicitly a weapon to be used against the communists.
It's oh my good lord.
It's almost like he was writing it during the Cold War.
Does he not understand what it means? Like, you have to understand the mindset of people at the time that you're critiquing, or else you sound like an idiot. All right, it's very very sophomoric to just point at something now and be like, "Well, that's bad," and it's like, okay, do you understand how they got there though? Because you just saying that's bad actually doesn't do anything. You know, it doesn't help anybody to just claim something is bad. You need to actually like understand why it's bad and then how to avoid that happening again, because that's the most important part about history is understanding what led to certain events. And oh, that's not a good thing, so we need to get why that happened and how it happened so we can avoid doing that again, because all those people suffered for absolutely nothing if we don't learn how to not ever do that again.
And Chris brings up an excellent point. Russia starved to death millions of people during their communist run. So, but he doesn't like that. He only talks about that when it's imperialism starving people.
No, Chris, that wasn't real communism. Real communism's never
It's
been tried.
never really been tried.
It's never been tried. Just that.
In the films, Bond more often faced off against Spectre, but during
Oh, hi, Mr. Bigglesworth. Pet.
the Cold War, the imaginations of the audience would undoubtedly replace Spectre with the Soviet Union, and there are other more explicit Cold War references in the film series.
Yeah, that's because that was a big thing happening. Hell, my parents have told me about how when they were younger, they'd have what is it, nuclear bomb drills where they'd hide under their desks, as if that's going to do anything with a nuclear bomb.
Yeah, my parents did the same thing.
Yeah, I don't.
In the decade prior to the earliest Bond films of the 1960s, anti intellectualism was given the stamp of approval by celebrity figures and politicians. In 1954, President Eisenhower said, I heard a definition of an intellectual that I thought was very interesting. A man who takes more words than are necessary to tell more than he knows.
A man who takes more words than are necessary to tell more than he knows.
Okay,
So
I see what he's saying.
that's kind of interesting. So somebody who basically gives off the air of I'm smarter than you and lets you know by the way that they talk, I guess, right?
But
It's
if
kind
you
of
actually listen to what they say, they clearly don't know what they're talking about. Kind of
Yeah.
like someone we
Well,
might be
interesting.
covering.
Yes.
Ike's got jokes. According to Richard Hofstadter, author of Anti Intellectualism in American Life, the right wing crusade of the 1950s was full of heated rhetoric about Harvard professors, twisted thinking intellectuals in the State Department, those who are burdened with Phi Beta Kappa keys and academic honors, those who try to fight communism with kid gloves in perfumed drawing rooms.
None of that made any sense. I just wanted to say that because I have
And
no idea what was just said there.
and he just brings up like these people that you just are supposed to know. Like I don't know who that last quote was from at all. I know who Ike was, and I completely agreed with everything Ike said in that quote. It's like, oh yeah, I agree with that.
I think it's an interesting take on it.
Yeah.
I would say that intellectual would be the incorrect word, though. I would say pseudo intellectual would be the better way to describe that person. And if you switch out intellectual with pseudo intellectual, I would agree with that quote. So, because
Okay.
pseudo intellectual is somebody who basically does exactly that. Someone who pretends they're a lot more smart. There we go. A lot smarter than they actually are. Bosch has a tendency to do that quite a bit.
Much of
Why
this
did you
anti
poison that
intellectualism
name? You
Bosch,
poisoned my ears with that name.
you're welcome.
is Americentric, but the United States and the United Kingdom don't simply share certain cultural attitudes, they share media. British theaters are flooded with American films. The James Bond films may be partly the property of Eon Films, a British film production company, but they are generally co produced by MGM, an American media
Yeah,
company, and distributed by the likes of 20th Century Fox, among
aren't they owned by that? Isn't
And
their
what's your
parent companies
point?
involved?
Yeah.
others over the years. The US and UK also trade in politics. The policies of both Ronald Reagan and Margaret Thatcher in the 1980s, for example, are seen as complementary. James Bond is a product of the 1950s, his first fictional adventure appearing in novels from that era, the decade of the rise of anti intellectualism as popular convention. By 1962, Dr. No, the first Bond film, was a smash. In GoldenEye, Bond
Yes,
expresses his opinion
it's a
of the
good
new
movie.
M in anti intellectual terms, claiming his instincts are greater than her research, analysis, and calculation.
Yeah, and guess what? You want to know something fun? This is everyone's favorite M. Everyone loves this version of M, just as a fun fact. I know she's mine, you know, and she really, really, I'm gonna have to fight you on this.
She's all
You don't
right.
like her as M? How dare you?
I just said she's all right.
Superior M. Best M. Don't make me come over there. I will fight you.
She stayed around way too long.
Well, to be fair, I think James Bond has kind of stayed around for way too long.
Well, I meant having the same person in the role.
Maybe. So maybe have like a different M with every James Bond.
I think that would be a good idea.
You know, I wouldn't be opposed to that. That'd been kind of cool. Then again, I don't think Skyfall would have been nearly as good as it was if she wouldn't have been the M, because it had more of a punch, you know?
Fair.
Anyway.
You think I'm an accountant? A bean counter, more interested in my numbers than your instincts.
The thought had occurred to me.
Good.
The audience is meant to side with Bond here, reinforcing his anti-intellectual dog whistles as correct. Framing is critical, and the Bond films do not frame 007's bravado as a negative. Depiction does not equal endorsement, of course, but the films are framed for Bond to be right, for M to be wrong, or at least less right, and for the audience to sympathize with Bond and therefore his implied worldview. Let this be perfectly clear. This does not mean that Bond is an anti-intellectual because he, stays in shape, or even because he shoots people for Queen and Country. Bond being a man of action merely makes him attractive to those with pre-existing anti-intellectual views predating Bond. The character need not openly declare, I am an...
So I'm an anti-intellectual because I enjoy watching the silly British spy movie. Okay. Okay.
an anti-intellectual whilst winking at the camera, but that's because he never needs to in order for his role as the avatar of this worldview to be clear to the audience. Bond merely needs to exist as Bond in order to be the hero of anti-intellectualism. He doesn't think, he acts. And when he does think, it's about sex, or something acceptable to adopters of this worldview, like effective ways to ward off bad guys, especially communists, or entities that audiences would liken to communism due to not knowing enough about communism. Bond
Oh, shut the fuck up!
Oh, honey. If you're in favor of communism, I don't think you know enough about communism, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah. Look what happened to communism in Russia. And look at the millions. And look at the millions of people that died.
It never ends well. Ever. It doesn't end well. It's a bad idea.
Ayn Rand wants to strangle this guy. That was a good one, Rambam.
Really? Okay, that's kind of an interesting piece of information. And hello, Matt G. Oh, okay. I almost missed this joke. Nice. Nice.
Bond is not portrayed as unintelligent. He's portrayed as above intelligence.
No?
Smirking as the know-it-all who rebukes know-it-alls. He's suave and well-dressed, which means he does not fit the salt-of-the-earth type that anti-intellectualism positions as being correct, but...
No, I would say James Bond is an elite. What do you mean? What?
What?
I don't understand. Also, most of the people he fights are elites, so in order to fight the elite, he usually has to act and be, he has to do the same things the elites have to do, generally speaking. Go to the fancy hotels, eat the fancy food.
Yeah.
His attitudes are more in line with that worldview and rhetoric than not, particularly as it relates to gender roles. Anti-intellectuals cannot resist mocking gender studies in universities and decrying
because it's the most useless degree ever.
The only thing you can do with gender studies, much like philosophy, is to teach it.
Yes.
Generally speaking, you can't do anything with it because society doesn't have really any way to use it. A useless degree is anything that you can pay for that you can't really actually utilize, except for to teach. It's not really a useful degree.
Yeah.
So
and anti-imperialism as being owned by the elites, even though its opposites, meaning capitalism and imperialism, are utilized by the actual elites, governments with far-reaching military powers.
I would love to hear what his opinion is on, like, who does he think is in charge of communist countries? Are they elites?
Yeah.
I mean, communism is like it even strips away the 1% even more. It's like the 0.001%. There's like one dude on top of it all, maybe a handful, but usually it's about like one dude, and he has all the power and all the money, and everyone's starving and potato farming and working in horrible factories. It's not good. Oh, now I want a burger. Maggie, why do you do this to me? It's not fair. I don't. Communism is bad. I wouldn't say capitalism is like the end all be all, but it's definitely better than communism, as far as I'm concerned. Capitalism has its own flaws. I'm not going to deny that. But I don't really know. I don't know another philosophy
of the economic systems out there. Capitalism is the best one.
Yeah, so it's like I don't know, and there are definitely flaws in capitalism. That goes without saying. People who don't think that there are any flaws in capitalism are just as bad as people who don't think there are any flaws in communism. In my opinion, it's like no, there are, and you try to make laws and things to rein these economic systems in so they don't go out of control, but it's hard. So.
Yeah, and this guy doesn't seem to grasp that at all. That I mean, China right now has a huge amount of power and influence, and their economy is starting to collapse, and things are going to get even worse in China very soon.
Yeah. Yeah, you're talking about the only reason why China has pretty much existed for as long as it has is they steal intellectual property. That's basically the only way they've been able to continue on. So, all right. I'm to be perfectly honest, I thought this was going to have more James Bond stuff in it. I am.
It's Renegade Cut. He goes off topic all the damn time.
I know, but I'm actually shocked. This might be the worst one we've seen from him because there is so. Okay, I told you I watched that Big Trouble in Little China one. He stayed on topic pretty much the entire time.
Okay.
This is truly baffling. I'm trying to push through it. It's just holy shit,
That is what makes Bond an anti-intellectual hero. The politics that he, and by extension the films, express to the audience. Let's be clear about one more thing. The fact that
I would love for you to be clear about something.
Bond is attractive to people with this worldview does not mean he is exclusively attractive to people with this worldview. One could be opposed to the rise of anti-intellectualism and enjoy Bond films, but clearly this character has a certain demographic appeal. Oh, and leave Q alone. He gave you an invisible card, dude.
What? Oh no.
This one might have a little more merit to it.
Yeah, well.
This
Okay,
point might have a
alright.
little more merit.
Alright, so I think we're finally done with communism. Okay.
One can only hope. Because he just cannot
Alright.
accept that communism is bad.
I'm sorry that the idea you like is shit. Okay, but it's shit. I don't know what you want. In order for communism to work, humans would have to function in a way that they do not function. And we'd have to have infinite resources, none of which we have. So, just... Alright, okay, alright. You want to take a small little break? Or are you good? Do you want to... We good? We good? Do you think he might actually talk about James Bond for more than 5 minutes?
Let's see what his first point is. But yeah, my head is pounding right now.
Okay.
In Goldfinger, James Bond sacrifices this woman and then sexually assaults a lesbian before making her enjoy it through the power of his boner. In the novel,
Alright, I don't disagree.
That's fair.
That's a fair point.
Although wasn't the girl that was that he sacrificed, wasn't she a spy?
Yes, she
was. She was a plant. So it's like,
yes.
okay,
She
yeah,
was there. She was there as a honeypot, basically. So
so it's not like she was innocent.
No. So
this is even more explicit, as Bond's rape of the lesbian is considered corrective.
Okay.
Yeah, that was in the book.
Okie dokie. All right. So
By Bond. In
Yikes.
Thunderball, Bond tries to force himself on a woman and then later convinces a woman to have sex with him or else she will be fired. The new James Bond assaults this. Woman in On Her Majesty's Secret Service. In Diamonds Are Forever,
No, don't say it. Yes. No, that's not real.
Bond takes off this woman's clothes and strangles her. In Live and Let Die, Bond uses a woman's religious beliefs to con her into sex. The Man with the Golden Gun features Bond assaulting another woman. Then we have The Living Daylights, in which Bond strips a woman to distract someone else. In Skyfall, Bond learns a woman was sold into sex slavery when she was a child.
Hold on here. And how many of them were secret agents? And how, of all these women he's talking about, how many of them were not just innocent people that were just there?
Most of them were spies in some sense or another.
Yes.
So, just saying. The honeypot is a real thing.
Yes.
Just saying.
Which means she was repeatedly abused and raped her whole life, and then makes a pass at her. And on, and on.
So a woman who has been abused can't feel love? Is that what he was saying?
No. I think he's saying women that are abused are damaged goods. I think that's exactly what.
Oh, that makes more sense.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Nice to clarify that, Renegade Cut.
Yeah.
Women who've been assaulted and abused are damaged goods, and so people should avoid them like the plague. Okay, glad we cleared that up.
They're damaged goods, so you shouldn't engage them sexually in any way, shape, or form, no matter what, you know.
Right. Because of what's happened, they no longer know love.
Exactly. Yes. To be perfectly honest, naked bodies have a tendency to be a distraction.
This is true.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. not what we're talking about right now. That's not... No, the way he's putting it is very. I don't know. How do I put this? How he's kind of implying that
it's wrong to make a pass at someone who's gone through abuse, which I find abhorrent.
That's a pretty horrible way to put that. It depends on if they want it or not. Okay?
Yeah.
Entirely dependent on that.
I assure you that is the abridged version. One movie features objectification of women in the most literal sense of it.
I forgot about this intro. Oh, I forgot about that intro. Oh my god, that's funny.
It's amazing.
That's hilarious.
That
Okay.
word. The point is that when I say James Bond is a misogynist in this section,
Hey, belly dancing isn't sexual. What are you talking about, Renegade Cut?
Yeah.
It's just somebody's culture, man. Way to sexualize somebody's culture, man. What is this?
and I will a lot. I'm not talking about patting a woman on the keister or being a little insensitive in a way that is shameful but in keeping with the time it was made. No,
Okay, there we
it
go.
is far, far worse than that. Did I mention the corrective rape was set to romantic music?
Yeah.
Most people don't agree with this scene, okay? Put it that way.
Yeah.
Again, bi people exist, and I guess they didn't realize back then that they did, so they just were like, nope. I don't know, it's really funny.
He's got the magical penis, okay?
Magical penis. That is a thing. Apparently. Turn a gay woman straight. I know, my mom and I watched Goldfinger once, and we were just kind of like, oof. Yikes.
Is he doing this like a 50s instructional video?
James Bond is a big gross creep beyond the limits of what was even considered misogynist in the 1960s. But what does all this mean in the context of broader ideas about gender roles predating the Bond films that
Does not matter, because they predated the Bond films.
undoubtedly influenced said films? People often mistakenly define misogyny in simplest terms, a fear or hatred of women. The dictionary backs this up, after all. Complex social systems, societal organizing, historically codified behavior, and systemic oppression all wrapped up in an emotion, a feeling. But this ignores said systems and the learned behavior that becomes the background radiation of life. Kate Mann, author of Down Girl, The Logic of Misogyny, defines the term more accurately. There's a tendency to define misogyny as this deep hatred in the heart, harbored by men towards girls and women. I define misogyny as social systems or environments where women face hostility and hatred because they're women in a man's world, a historical patriarchy.
Well, that's great that that's how you define that. That is literally not the definition.
I mean, he literally said he's ignoring the actual dictionary definition of it. It's like, well, I don't care.
Yeah, that's not the definition of it. That's silly.
By mistakenly defining misogyny merely as a hatred of women, it opens up a bad faith counter-argument in favor of the misogynist. I can't be a misogynist, he might say. I love women. This means that because the man who has been accused of misogynist behavior dates women, is married to a woman, has daughters.
You know what? Hold on. Misogyny. That's not how you spell misogyny. A dislike of, contempt for, or ingrained prejudice against women.
There you go.
So that, for me, covers everything, does it not?
Yeah, that sounds like a pretty solid definition of the word to me. So I don't care what some gender studies professor says about it.
Well, it's kind of weird because it's like, okay, just because you want to bang them doesn't mean you're not misogynistic against them, right? Because you could want to bang them, but also think they belong in a kitchen and can't have a job and they're not allowed to do anything but pop out babies and give you a martini. It's like
Yeah.
you can love your wife and also have those exact same. It's not an exclusive hatred. It's the definition I just read out. It's very simple.
Or has a good relationship with his mother, he cannot be a misogynist. If misogyny only means hatred of women, and the man associates with women either romantically or with
Yes, I understand, Rambam. I get that. I'm just saying that could have been pretty solved. Like the her being a, does it make sense for her to be a lesbian and to but the whole scene is stupid. There you go. I fixed it. And literally doesn't fix anything, doesn't do anything beneficial in any media context. You could cut the scene out and it doesn't do anything for it. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't change the movie either way. It's cringe. It's a cringe scene.
It is.
But I do think the idea of a lesbian leader of a lesbian gang called Pussy Galore is hilarious. So
within
That
the
is funny.
confines of his immediate family,
Yes.
then that man has his very own get out of jail free card. It's the I have a black friend of misogynist defensiveness. Men who sometimes date black women can still be racist because racism is not about simple love and hate, nor is it only about sexual desire. Ditto for misogyny. Misogyny is about control over women as a social system, particularly when women are in what men consider to be men's spaces, which is really just
Oh
any
my
position
God.
of authority or even agency. Comparatively, men who date women are not somehow excused from being accused of misogyny.
No.
This is why I hate
Heterosexuality
Renegade Cuts so much.
I thought we were having a
has
point.
never been a tonic to cure misogyny. If it were, the dominant sexuality on Earth would have prevented misogyny from existing since the beginning of the species. As it obviously has not, this defense is bunk. And if this defense is bunk, then it stands to reason that misogyny is more than hating women.
It is. There's a whole definition that talks about it. That doesn't just talk
Yeah.
about hating it. Weird.
But not a definition that's defined by the gender studies professor you cited. We're going off of the actual definition of the word.
Yes.
In real life, misogynists are rarely as brazen as the fictional James Bond. This is because misogynists generally believe they are in the moral right by preserving a status quo that feels correct to them. They want to be socially and morally correct, and by
Also, I'm gonna go and say it. I guess you really didn't watch the James Bond movies because you would understand that Moneypenny swoons over James Bond. Okay?
Yes.
And they have a constant flirting back and forth. Okay, it is a
Yes.
it is a
It is a
oh,
complete. It is a 100% consensual flirting relationship.
yes. She straight up swoons. It is very very obvious that she likes him, but could obviously never have him. And so it's just kind of like that. That's kind of like very much a background subplot, and
Mhm.
and she doesn't really like. She wants him, doesn't really want him. It's very Moneypenny has for as little as you see her, it's actually like a lot of character depth with her relationship with James Bond.
Yeah.
Because it's like she would never be able to have him, nor would she actually want to, because his job doesn't allow him to have a monogamous relationship. He's a spy. He's going to have to do honeypots. He's going to have to get in close with women. A lot of the people he's going after are powerful men. Most of the time, powerful men have women by their side. See Epstein. That's just kind of how it is. So he gets in with them, and he's very charismatic. And I don't know what you want. It's just showing Moneypenny as if she is some kind of misogynist, she's the victim of misogyny is incredibly, ugh.
Yeah.
It's not even correct. It's,
Oh my God, Loki.
oh my goodness. Yeah, and yes, women's power has a tendency to be different than it. That's why you have the male and female power fantasies are not the same thing at all.
Right.
So.
By enforcing misogyny as status quo, they can achieve this. A lot of misogynistic behavior is directed toward
Okay, what?
women who violate patriarchal norms and
Yes, the evil man that wants you to clean your room. Yes.
The man who
Those
wants
who
to
are
the
deserving
person who
male
preaches giving young men hope in this world. Yeah, very misogynistic.
Yes.
interests in the way in which they are expected. Misogynists rarely admit to their misogyny because the invisible hierarchies that govern our social behavior are unquestioned by those who benefit from them. They
I swear to God, he tells me that we live in a wow, my brain just died hardcore. Patriarchy. There we go. My mouth and brain finally connected. We do not live
There
in
we
a
go.
patriarchy. We haven't lived in a patriarchy for a while. For a very long time. We have not lived in one.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't just that shit always kind of makes me mad because we don't.
And if you want to, and we know that Renegade is very far left, right?
Yeah, his videos nowadays are mostly political takes, and it's
I know.
fairly obvious where fairly obvious where he leans on the political
Yeah,
scale,
so
which is kind of annoying.
he is very, very far left. So by this definition, does he consider that Kamala Harris is Joe Biden's black friend? Because to prove that he's not racist or misogynistic.
To be perfectly honest, I'm pretty sure that's the only reason why she got selected.
Oh, that's the. Of course it is. She has no qualifications.
No, she is actually incredibly hated among most people.
I mean, Mike, I've never seen a politician speak in a way that makes it feel like, are we in first grade?
Oh, I hate her voice. Her voice is like nails on the chalkboard for me. I can't stand it. If you have to convey empathy by almost sounding like you're about to burst out crying, then I have concern for you having any kind of power because I feel like if you're going to have power, you need to have empathy. And it seems like you're faking empathy to me, and that's incredibly concerning.
Yes.
Not having empathy and having power is like a one-way ticket to like shittown USA. Okay.
Yeah. But I just wonder if he feels that Kamala Harris is deserving of her position as the second most powerful person in the country, or was she just selected because Joe Biden needed his black friend?
I don't even know if he likes Biden. He could have been a Bernie or bust bro. I don't know.
That is also fair.
So
They believe if the hierarchy has been violated, women are being morally objectionable or have the incorrect attitude. If women have been cast as subordinates or support for men over the centuries, then this hostility toward their own agency comes from the alarm of being usurped or neglected. From the aforementioned book, Kate Mann gives this schematic illustration. Imagine a person in a restaurant who expects not only to be treated deferentially, the customer always being right, but also to be served the food he ordered attentively and with a smile. He expects to be made to feel cared for and special, as well as to have his meal brought to him, a somewhat vulnerable position as well as a powerful one for him to be in. Imagine
What?
now that this customer
What?
comes to be disappointed. His server is not serving him, though she is waiting on other tables, or perhaps she appears to be lounging around lazily or just doing her own thing, inexplicably.
Do you know what you do in restaurants where you're not? Because Loki, Daryl, Akimi, and I all had this actually like unironically happened last year at Valhalla Con. We were sitting, so we went to our restaurant. We were at a restaurant. We walk in, and we were given menus by the hostess.
Okay.
This is not a big restaurant by any means. Like we're in the back, and we can see the front door fairly easily. Okay.
Okay.
Like there's not a whole lot there, and
So like 30 tables, like not a big spot place.
maybe you're talking maybe 20. Okay.
Okay.
Like
Okay.
fairly small, and I say 20. That's probably way too much. It was probably more like 10. It was very small. Okay.
Okay.
And because there was also like an outdoor section, but we were sitting there, and nobody came up and talked to us. Like the hostess was still there. We could see her very easily. We probably could have thrown like a napkin at her. All right. And been able to hit her relatively easily. Okay. We were right next to where the open kitchen was and like the server station, and nobody was attending to us. We were literally being ignored. Nobody did anything. They didn't ask us what we wanted to drink. They didn't nothing. So you didn't know what we did after 30 minutes of sitting there, getting absolutely no service in this empty restaurant with only 2 other people sitting in there? We left.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't blame you.
We were in a hotspot of retail, okay? There was like 10 other restaurants within walking distance. So we went there. We went to a different place, and we were seated immediately, and we got taken care of like right away. So I don't know. To me, this analogy already falls apart because you can just leave.
Yeah.
That is an
Now-
option. You don't have.
Now, I will say the customer is not always right, but the customer should always be treated with respect.
Yes.
Because, I mean, I've worked retail. I've had people make demands of things that I can't do. You know, like, I had a guy absolutely convinced that he wanted to buy some beer, and you need to be 21.
Yes.
He looked to be fairly young, and it's Walmart policy was if the person looks to be under 40, you card them no
Yes.
matter what.
It's literally right there at the register. It says that in letters because I've seen it before.
Well, he was buying it. I worked in the sporting goods department, so I didn't have it. So I didn't have the sign since
Oh,
most
okay.
people don't buy alcohol from me, but I'm allowed to sell it.
Right. Okay. Fair enough.
But still, he asks, to buy the beer, and I'm like, okay, I need your ID, and he goes, I don't have it. I don't have any state issue ID. Like, well, that's your problem.
How did you get here? You have to have a state ID. You have to have a driver's license to drive. Okay. And if you don't have a driver's license on you, then how did you get
He
here?
was with some of his buddies.
Oh, okay. Well, sucks to be
he
you
was-
then.
But he was the only one that was over 21. And again, but he couldn't prove it because he didn't have an ID. And I was like, no, I'm not. I can't sell you this. And he's
Yeah.
like, but I'm over 21. Can you prove it? No. And he's like, well, I'm not going to risk breaking the law for you. Sorry.
Yeah. That's silly.
I could get in trouble if I sold it to you.
Yeah, anything
So
you
no.
do will trace back to the store because they'll be like, where did they buy the alcohol at? Like, you're liable for that.
Yeah, I'm not. It's like, and even if you are, it's not my problem that you don't have your identification. So even if he does, even if he was over 21, not my problem.
Correct.
So yeah, there are times where the customer is wrong and you have to stand up to them. But you still need to treat. I never called him a dumbass or anything like that. I told him I can't do that. And just accepted the verbal verbal abuse that he was launching because how angry he was. Like, what? Sorry. You just smile and take it. That's customer service. That's why I hate retail.
Yes.
Ignoring him. Worse, she might appear to be expecting service from him in a baffling role reversal. Either way, she is not behaving in the manner.
Sorry, what the hell is the waitress gonna want from me?
Yeah.
Okay, this analogy is falling apart, and I don't even understand its relevance anymore.
I also don't understand why is he using footage from a W.C. Fields movie.
Oh my goodness.
To which he is accustomed in such settings. It is easy to imagine this person becoming confused, then resentful.
I am also confused.
James Bond offers a power fantasy.
Wait, no, we had to explain the analogy. I didn't get it.
What? What? So someone goes to a restaurant, they get taken care of, and then they go to that same restaurant and they're not being taken care of and they become angry. And what's your point?
What's the ending? I want to know the ending of it. No, I don't get it. I don't understand.
To heterosexual men, not only in terms of the obvious power of his fighting prowess and high-tech gadgets, but a fantasy of power over women. The Bond girls are subservient to him. He treats them and mistreats them.
They're literally called Bond girls. I don't know what you want.
Who'd have thought? Most guys want to sleep with attractive women. Wow. Why would they want that in their power fantasy movie? I can't imagine.
No. It has to be something else, Josh. That just doesn't seem right.
And for the most part, again, there's the exception of the pussy galore scene. But for the most part, they're consensual.
Yeah.
So, what's the problem?
Oh, women are not allowed to sleep with, powerful men.
Oh.
Apparently. Do you think that might be because he's not a powerful man?
I don't even know if he's a man. He's a thing.
Oh my goodness.
Them as he pleases. Now you might counter with examples of strong women in Bond films, but even strong women with minds of their own eventually fall to his charms.
So? They're not allowed to have their own... They're allowed to have their own... Okay, whatever. Women are not allowed to have desires. They're only allowed to have the desires that Renegade Cut deems are good desires for them. Thank you for taking away my agency.
In fact, it is in these strong women that the Bond films rebuke the agency of women the most.
How?
Their dalliances outside of gender norms are either punished by Bond or shown to be, in the end, less important than serving Bond sexually. It's important to note that these women, except in earlier cases, are shown to consent to Bond's sexual advances, but that is where the fantasy comes in. None of these characters are real. This isn't a documentary.
Okay, so none of it makes any sense. Good night. Have a good one, everyone. No, it doesn't matter.
All these people are not real people. They're just characters in a film. Oh, so we can just ignore this entire point then.
Okay. All right, that sounds good to me. I'm good with ignoring this entire point. They're fake. The strong women that want him, which is totally a valid thing that could happen, oh, they're fake, so it doesn't matter. It's like, okay, well, so are the women that didn't consent.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole Pussy Galore rape scene. Yeah, what's it matter? It's fake, right?
Fake, who cares, right? It's just fake. There we go. Yeah, kind of just falls apart once you introduce that concept in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of embarrassing. I didn't expect him to actually go there. Kind of just ruins everything, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The exchange between them is the fantasy of heterosexual men, all women wanting them, but also the idea.
Yeah, shocking. I know. Heterosexual men wanting women. Wow, what a concept.
Chris has it. Yes.
The problem is Renegade. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. We're so close, Josh. I know your
know.
headache, but it's we're so close. We're so close.
I know.
Ideology of misogyny being laid bare, a fantasy of worldview. In the end, all women want to be with Bond, and in the minds of misogynists, dominated by Bond. Even the strong women, especially the strong women.
Okay, who cares? Okay. So, what, women are only allowed to have the preferences that you want them to have? What if there's a strong woman out there that likes strong men who wants to be dominated by that strong man? So that's an illegal maneuver to renegade. That this doesn't exist.
Right.
That's
There's
odd.
there's not a single woman in the entire world that enjoys being submissive. Like not one. Is that what he's saying? Is that what his point is?
Yeah, 50 Shades of Grey and all those other movies, they definitely do not exist and are not apparently enjoyed by a lot of women, okay? It's not a thing. It's not female power fantasy at all. No, not at all. As poor as that film represents what it's trying to represent, really? Okay. This is fairly embarrassing.
Yeah.
I'm getting secondhand embarrassment now because he really doesn't understand that is a thing that exists. There are strong women who like strong men. Sometimes, maybe those strong women like to be submissive. That is quite the take, apparently.
Yeah.
The only women Bond does not bed are Miss Moneypenny, who is obsessed with Bond, and the
No, she isn't. Oh my god, she is not obsessed with him. She is not. She has a crush and they flirt.
They flirt.
Okay.
Yeah.
She has a small crush and they flirt. Moneypenny is very, very, very well aware that relationship would never go anywhere, and she wouldn't like it. So she just accepts that. Okay, well, I will never have a relationship with him, and I don't think I'd actually want to be in a relationship with him. So I'm just going to flirt and have a good time flirting and enjoying the attention I get from him.
Yeah.
And that's fine. That's perfectly fine. She's totally allowed to do that. Josh, did you know 2 consenting adults aren't allowed to flirt with each other? God forbid.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know, Chris. I don't know. And no, he doesn't beg Judi Dench, okay? Why on earth? That's his boss, you moron. What are you talking about?
Well, he was saying that the only 2 that he doesn't bed are Moneypenny and M.
I know. Just
Dame Judi Dench version of M, who the audience will undoubtedly view as too old for Bond. All other
Wow,
Also-
that is not.
Also, ew. Just gonna throw that out there.
Okay, it's not the okay. Age isn't even anywhere near. That's hilarious. I didn't even go anywhere near the age aspect of the obvious problem with that relationship. I went to that is a power dynamic. That
Yes.
if the can you imagine if Judi Dench was a man and James Bond was a woman? That's her boss. That would have been her boss, just like that is his boss. It is very much frowned upon, generally speaking, for people to sleep with their bosses because the power dynamic is really, really out of balance there.
Oh, Chris, that's an. I forgot about the new rules. That's right.
Oh yes, I guess the fax machine and printer weren't working at the time.
I couldn't get it to UPS to have it notarized. Damn it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's like the age. It's hilarious that he went for the age when obviously the main issue there is that's his boss.
Right.
That is his
and
boss.
it's highly inappropriate.
Highly inappropriate, highly unprofessional, and incredibly like by social standards. I mean, you're talking about like an incredible power imbalance between the two. It just wouldn't happen. And Judi Dench would never, okay? Just straight up, Judi Dench's M would absolutely never. Again, I'm starting to get the feeling he really didn't actually watch the films. Because Judi Dench's M is no nonsense, no bullshit, fuck you, M, okay?
He was.
That is.
He might have had the movies on in the background while he was, arguing with people on Twitter or something like that.
And he didn't watch Skyfall, apparently. If anyone who watched Skyfall would have been, it's very, very obvious that they have more of a mother-son relationship.
Right.
It's almost explicitly said in Skyfall. It just almost. All right. This is embarrassing. That's embarrassing that you went for the age thing. Okay. It I am baffled by it.
Yeah.
So the two women he doesn't bed is his boss and his boss's secretary. All right, who just likes to flirt with him because she enjoys flirting with him and has like a small crush. She's not obsessed with him at all. So it's embarrassing.
Okay, almost done.
Other women are entitled
Yes.
to bond.
Sorry,
If a
I
man
get
has a
triggered
sense
me.
of entitlement to women, he will be prone to hold women to false obligations.
Oh
Please
look,
excuse
did you
my
see?
brief but necessary.
Did you see how misogynistic he was? She came to him and he gave her a hug. Oh my god, the misogyny.
How dare he comfort a
My
woman?
good lord. Comfort? No, illegal. Not allowed.
Side. Saying maybe it's satire in response to problematic content is not helpful when
I didn't say
something
that
is
once.
easily identified as sincere and not satire. When the films poke playful fun at Bond, that is not satire. At worst, it's a roast. Jokes directed at a person or idea that do more.
What does satire mean, Josh? Satire definition.
Satire. It's when you do something to the extreme to make fun of it.
So, like,
It's
satire parody roast, basically.
it's like the AOC parody account on Twitter that is almost indistinguishable from the real one.
Yes. No. Good lord. Yeah, I'd believe that.
I think I do remember her saying that. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was never like it was very obvious. Like that was never going to be a thing. They just, it's just they're just two flirty adults, and it's fine. And there's even like a joke occasionally where it's like there's a oh, look, you have to seek out this woman. Here's a picture of the woman. There you go. And she's just like, oh, who is she? She kind of like playfully acts like, oh, who's this other woman you're seeing? Blah, blah, blah. Like, Moneypenny. I think Bond even says, Moneypenny, you know you're the only woman for me, and blah, blah, blah. And it's just, oh my God.
And Colin, I see what you did there.
I think my brain is too melted to understand.
Satire is Pan with dyslexia. Pan being the Greek god of mischief.
Oh my God, I'm an idiot. Anyway.
Who was the satyr?
Person.
Yes. Goatman.
Or idea, and hand wave the faults instead of outright condemn. Satire criticizes.
They're self-aware.
Satire condemns.
So they're self-aware.
Satire is opposed to something.
Oh my God, they're self-aware. It's fine. Let's move on.
Yeah.
It's not sympathetic to it. For example,
who cares?
Most Wes Anderson movies are not satires of white people's problems because the films ultimately sympathize with those problems, even if the films also playfully mock the characters in service of comedy. This is especially true if their character arcs and growth have nothing to do with what actually makes them problematic, but what the director mistakenly believes makes them problematic. Monty Python's Life of Brian is...
Okay, I am appalled that apparently he has seen Monty Python and still doesn't understand British humor.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
A satire, specifically what the troupe themselves admitted. Closed systems of thought. The example in the film being absolute devotion to dogma above else, both religious or political. Life of Brian condemns. Bond films support. Bond films making jokes about the secret agent's promiscuity is not condemnation. Even Die Another Day, the most self-referential of all Bond films, is at best a roast and not satire. Satire requires intent, a target. James Bond films do not satirize Bond's attitudes. Ian Fleming did not write his Bond novels as satirizing his own much-treasured naval service, and the producers of the James Bond films did not create over 20 films spanning over half a century to make you denounce saving the world and getting the girl. James Bond in film has always been portrayed as aspirational. The phrase, maybe it's satire, in response to problematic content in media is almost always in bad faith.
Okay, I am now beyond confused. Has anyone ever actually said that any of the quote-unquote problematic content in Bond was just satire?
I've never, ever heard of James Bond being satire.
No. I'm baffled. Truly baffled.
A hand grenade thrown into the conversation with the intent of scattering the interlocutors in hopes of never having to think critically about said problematic content in media.
Or maybe we're smarter than you.
It's a cowardly move,
Maybe.
and we have to be braver than that. There is a mild amount of self-reflection in GoldenEye, released in 1995, a full 33 years after the first Bond film.
What is this horrible...
And 40 years from the first...
Oh my God.
What?
It's not helping my headache, that's for sure.
Is it really? Okay, hold on. Where am I? In here. Okay, I'm just gonna see if this is what's happening. I'm just seeing if it's just watch the other fucking up. Oh my God, it is. That is exactly how he edited it. Okay, that's real. All right. Well.
All right.
M remarks on Bond's sexism in a blunt.
What the hell, dude?
This is horrible. Oh my God, Lord, it's horrible.
Called womanizing back in the day, often with a hint.
There is womanizing is still a thing. I don't.
Yes.
You could, yeah.
Of envy. This scene does not
Stop
recontextualize Bond because it's not biting enough. M is portrayed as cold and unfeeling, like the anti-intellectual perception of the film series.
Oh my god, I'm gonna have a seizure.
Jesus Christ.
Don't watch Renegade Cut if you suffer from epilepsy. Oh my god.
Christ, that was awful. Oh my lord. By the way, the Judy Dench's M is supposed to be cold.
Yes.
Accept this criticism anyway. Bond does not become a satire of earlier Bond films from GoldenEye and going forward. Instead, the scene is a playful roast of Bond by the filmmakers, pointing out lovable flaws in the service of making the character.
Okay.
Your terrible filter is distracting anything that you're saying.
I can't hear it. Like I literally can't because it's so like the This hurts. This might be the worst editing I've ever seen in a YouTube video.
I mean, I get it. YouTube copyright bots are a bastard. I get that, but there are other ways you can get around it than whatever the hell this is. Like, maybe flip the image. That's always a possibility.
Yeah, if you flip the image, it probably would have done a lot.
If you have the filter over it and you flip it, 9 times out of 10, that's enough.
Yes.
This stuttering effect you're putting in is it's not helping my headache at all.
No, and it's actually giving me one. And I have a second stream I have to go to today, so I don't. Oh my good lord!
Yay!
All right.
Or behavior.
All right, close your eyes. All right, we're gonna do it this way. All right, I have my hand over the little play button. All right, close your eyes. Don't watch it. I'm Just listen to this next part because this is shit. This is really shit.
Endearing. This mild self-referential nature of later Bond films do little to recontextualize earlier behavior because the filmmakers choose instead to ignore it or laugh harmlessly at it. In short, your favorite problematic content cannot be hand-waved as satire every time you don't want to acknowledge what it is actually communicating. End of brief but necessary aside. Does that about
Oh my god.
Well,
okay, alright. Does it about cover... I don't...
So that whole thing was just a tangent to bitch about how people can be misogynistic even if they're displaying that they're not misogynistic?
I'm confused.
Because James Bond isn't a satire when they make fun of Bond in the movies, even though no one in the history of planet Earth has ever said James Bond is satire.
I don't understand. Okay.
Well, an analysis of the text won't be enough for some people and want arguments from authority, the worst kind. So, okay. Do you know who else thinks James Bond is a misogynist? James Bond. Daniel Craig, whose comfort with the role...
Okay, Daniel Craig does not count as an opinion, okay? He complains about James Bond every time he gets a chance, okay? He hates James Bond.
Daniel Craig, I've never seen an actor who more hates their role than Daniel Craig. So, fuck him. I don't give a shit what he has to say. Actors are well known for not being intelligent people.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my god.
Role has had peaks and valleys, once said, but let's not forget that he's actually a misogynist. A lot of women are drawn to him chiefly because he embodies a certain kind of danger and never sticks around for too long. But even the most recent Bond film, Spectre, starring the most self aware Bond actor of them all, has traces of this. Bond's powers of seduction, his display of dominance of a woman, helps him further his cause. Depiction does not always equal endorsement, but James Bond's misogyny is generally framed that way for the audience all too eager to see their pre existing beliefs reaffirmed by media. Bond is a misogynist because of the text of the film, and his misogyny is portrayed as either correct, laudable, aspirational, or at least whimsical more often than it is framed as wrong. Man talk.
Hi, Loki.
Sorry, that was funny. It was, let the man talk. Smacks butt. Okay, that was kind of funny. Oh my lord.
So, for those in the back, James Bond is both a product of
Okay.
his time, but also an unnatural extension of the values of those times that have either ended or should have ended. He is a blunt instrument, an empty vessel in which to inhabit the values, history, and interests of the United Kingdom's government. He is a misogynist, a low key
Uh-huh.
abuser, and as an agent of the UK, he is also an agent who tacitly promotes imperialism. Bond is fictional, so the blame for this cannot be on him. Bond does not exist. He has
No.
no agency. What we're
Correct.
witnessing when we're watching a movie is not the ideas of fictional characters, but of the culture that created them and the culture that endorses them. Bond was not only the fantasy of men who wished to be him and the women who presumably wished to be with him. He was the fantasy of a United Kingdom that still held the world at the edge of a sword. He is the sometimes smirking, sometimes sneering face of the real man of action that spits in the face of the intelligentsia. In conclusion, I will let Am herself give my opinion on the Bond character and films. Only when she says it in GoldenEye, it is framed as cold or wrong. I would say it with conviction.
Because I think you're a sexist, misogynist dinosaur, a relic of the Cold War.
Sounds about right.
Fuck off.
Holy shit on a brick. Oh my lord. Okay.
I hate Renegade Cut so much. He is so pretentious.
He is. I feel bad. I think I killed Josh.
So much so that we will not have a show next week.
Yes, we both of us actually have things that we have to do next week, and we will not be able to have a show. So. Oh my goodness.
Yay.
Yay. Yay.
That might have been the worst video we've covered.
It's a
Actually,
bold
wait.
stance.
Hold on. Actually, I take that back. I do take that back. Because we did give up on the Superman video with Clobby.
Oh, I remember that. We did. We gave up on it.
Like we couldn't take it anymore. So that one still has to be the best because or worst because we couldn't beat it.
Yep, it beat us. We didn't beat it.
Yeah, but I would say that might. I think that's the worst one Renegade that we've seen from Renegade Cut.
Yeah, for the amount of content that was. The amount of content that he gave us that was relevant. Very little, actually.
Yes. And my head hurts, and I want to lie down.
Sorry, Josh. Kind of. I'm kind of sorry.
I sent you some articles about some of the actors and the writers' strikes. Like nice light show, and then I see Renegade cut. Like, oh no.
It's all my fault.
Yes, it is.
Oh my. All right. Well, do you have anything extra going on?
Nope. I might pop on Mary's later, but that's about it.
I'm going to be on Lorena's 5K celebration tonight.
Oh my
6
goodness.
o'clock. Yeah.
Is that 5K already?
Yeah, I know, right?
Holy
So,
cow.
6 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'm going to hop on there for an hour. So I have stews I has to do.
Okay.
But I want to celebrate with her because that is quite the accomplishment.
Yes, it is.
So, all right. Other than that, we're not going to be on next week. We will be on the week after, which is
The 26th.
yes, 26. So, woohoo!
Yay.
How exciting! So, thank you all for coming.
Bye,
Appreciate
everyone.
it. But hold on, no, it's a brand. There we go, outro. All right, now wait, bye.
We're professionals.
So professional. Bye.